The brunt of it, but as you can see, the flakes are falling in Seattle right now.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about that weather alert day. Man, Brian, you have had your hands full.
Sure have. You know, a few of us stayed in the hotel down the road last night because we weren't sure the exact timing, because this was so close.
It can be hard to figure out.
Well, we all woke up, Abby and I especially woke up, looked outside, and we're like, oh boy, there was nothing, right?
Yeah. We have some splaining to do.
Right, not
but
anymore.
Then we knew that there was a chance that this, heavy downpour could bring that cold air back down to the surface. Sure enough, that's exactly what happened. Now look at it. We are looking at snow in the downtown core here of Seattle, and that's Westlake Avenue where, yep, there's snow on the roads, folks. So you're going to be dealing with that as you move through downtown, especially as you get just north of downtown out towards Northgate and many areas in the North Shore area. Really struggling at this hour. We'll talk to Adam here in a second. 32 is your temperature right now in Seattle. That temperature just about 2 hours ago was at 38 degrees. So it didn't take much for the cold air to win out over the past couple of hours. We are starting to see kind of the back end of this front that's pushing through. So there it is right there. You can see the line over this loop kind of pushing its way southeast. But right now still we're seeing some significant snow up in Everett, up towards Arlington, through Marysville, continuing on south into Linwood and Alderwood right now, and the Northgate area. We're also seeing some heavier snow over the Kitsap Peninsula out in spots like Bremerton. Then we head a little bit farther to the northwest. Port Angeles, you had over a foot of snow in many locations up there. Now you're getting a break, a well-deserved break at that. Down to the south, you got to go south of SeaTac and into Tacoma and Olympia and Shelton. This is just plain old rain. We're seeing plenty of warmer temperatures in the 40s down on the South Sound. That's where the warm air is. It's trying to push its way north, but not quite getting there. Seattle still, again, at 32. We're at 31 right now in Bremerton. All right, so today you're going to be throughout the day dealing with this icy slush and compact snow. We're going to continue to see the temperatures drop as we move throughout the day, and with that, we'll get a little bit of thawing this afternoon under the sunshine, even though there's not going to be much sun, but just that solar radiation breaking through the clouds will help thaw some areas. Then tonight, we're back to a hard freeze, and I expect overnight lows to be down into the 20s. That's going to be an issue because we're going to have compact snow and ice on the roads in many locations, especially north of Seattle. And that ice and snow is going to stick around for at least the next 2 days because temps are going to be very, very cold. More on this coming up here in just a bit. I want to send it on over to Adam, who's had his hands full over the past 2 hours.
Yeah, really been watching a lot kind of starting to come down. Wanted to also focus on what's been happening on the peninsula. This is State Route 3. Loxie-Egan's trying to move your way up and down the Kitsap Peninsula at this point. That was rain, has transitioned back to snow at this point. You really start to see the ruts in the roadway, the tracks that folks have been in. Trying to travel today, you're going to have to be in a vehicle that I'm suggesting is going to have all-wheel drive, or definitely carry chains with you as well. And I'm still advising folks keep a shovel and some kitty litter in their trunk if possible. The clay-style kitty litter, not the other stuff. Meanwhile, so the peninsula continues to find the snowfall at this point. To Port Angeles and Sequim, we've seen up to over a foot of snow. We really have also kind of been watching that snowfall almost in a line that we could draw right on the map here. It's varied from 520 up to the Kings-Snohomish County line, now back down to 520. So it's just kind of been teetering back and forth here for the last several hours as to where that snowfall has been. Further south, notice as the road weather index shows us, ponding on the roads, 405, I-5, or 405, I-5, I-90, and south. You're looking at wetness at this point. Southbound 405 closer to Filbert Road, which is just as you've made your way south of I-5. A collision has been giving us some trouble. That's in the process of clearing. Also saw trouble southbound I-5 near 526, a collision that's now mostly over to the shoulder but has done us a fair amount of backup. Here's some crowding northbound 405, also through that same area, getting in around the Filbert area. US 2 drivers in the lowlands across the trestle, slow going. I-5's been plodding along from Marysville to Smoky Point, getting up towards Arlington. Again, pulling out to kind of show you some of what's been happening on the peninsula itself. Brennan, Port Angeles, Port Townsend, you guys are all having to deal with the extra snowfall yet this morning. And then to the north, Cedar-Wooling to Bellingham, up to Linden, up to the U.S.-Canadian border. It's been incredibly snow. Earlier we saw blizzard-like conditions for travelers trying to get up into Whatcom County yet. So still very, very concerning. Mountain Pass travel, Stevens and Snoqualmie Pass. Visibility becoming a question now, but chains required for all except all-wheel drive. Blewett Pass also now getting into that boat with the chains required for all except except all-wheel drive. White Pass, that's been traction tires required. Guys, back over to you.
Appreciate you here. So download the Fox 13 weather app on your smartphone and you can get those weather alerts right to you. On top of that, you can check the conditions wherever you are. You can download it for free in the Google Play and App Store. All right, so as we have mentioned here, we are staying on an extra hour this morning as we talk about our snow coverage in the region.
And Frankie Thompson is in Lake Union in Seattle right now with a look at the conditions in the downtown core right on Westlake Avenue. Frankie, good morning.
Good morning. Just within the last 10 minutes from our previous report, the snowflakes have gotten bigger. That's the kind of snow we're talking about today. It is coming down here in the Seattle metro area. You can see it is blanketing the trees, blanketing the snow. You can see those cars coming by. The road conditions are slick right now because that snow is sticking and it's turning to slush. And as we heard Brian say earlier today, the temperatures are going to get colder. So the concern right now is that stuff is going to freeze. And again, these snowflakes are bigger and they're coming down a little bit harder. So we're reminding folks again to stay safe on the roads because this is going to be a weather event all day here in Seattle and across Western Washington. And as we've mentioned earlier, we're going to be bringing you team coverage from all of what's happening here. So make sure you stay with Fox 13 so that you can get all of your latest updates, especially here in the Seattle metro area where we are going to be following those weather conditions and giving you those live reports on air and online. We'll send it back to you in the studio, reporting live in Seattle. Frankie Thompson, Fox 13 News.
All right, Frankie, appreciate you out there. Thank you. Continuing our team coverage in Marysville this morning, Dan Griffin. Hey, Dan, good morning. How's it looking out there?
Hey, good morning to you. Yeah, you know what? It's basically a winter wonderland. When you look outside, it's basically exactly what kids would want to find. I think a lot of them are on winter break. So here in Marysville, you know, the road's pretty slushy. It's gotten worse, by the way. So earlier we were talking about how the plows have been able to come through. The cars have been driving back and forth on the road here. And they've been able to really kind of make their own leeway, try to fix this up a little bit. Well, then we got pounded with a bunch of heavy snow here, wet, heavy snow, and it made the roads pretty gnarly all over again. And so the sidewalks are pretty white. The side streets or neighborhood streets, pretty white, pretty untouched. You might find a few footprints. You might find some tire tracks. But overall, they look like they haven't really been touched too much. Your main drags are looking like this. Slushy, pretty slick. People going a lot slower than they typically would, going wherever they need to go, leaving some extra space. We've seen a few people fishtail, I think, in pickup trucks. I think they probably had light beds. They didn't have anything in the back, so they were fishtailing a little bit. So obviously, it is a little bit slick out here. The snow adding on more to this here. A lot of people telling me this is not really typical. They're not used to seeing this, especially in December. So for the kids who are out on winter break, I'm sure this is pretty exciting. Maybe they'll be able to get out, get on their sleds, enjoy this a little bit. I guess this is what winter break would be about, right? To get out and have a good time. I can't remember the last time I had a white Christmas. So hopefully this will be kind of nice, give them a little taste of what that might be like. But yeah, this is what we're seeing right now. Road crews going back and forth every so often, though I'll tell you, it's been a little while since I've seen the salt truck come through here. But we're going to keep watching these conditions. We'll be here, bring you updates throughout the morning. Right now, I know Adam Gerke's standing by with a look at traffic on this Fox 13 Weather Alert Day.
Yeah, exactly, Dan. And right now, having a look to the peninsula, State Route 3, Loxie-Egan's, we really see the ruts that are kind of created as the snow has gone from rain to snow back, or snow to rain, back to snow to rain, back to snow at this point. So that snowfall continues to build for drivers on the peninsula. Seeing some flashing lights also making its way on 3, starting to get in towards Loxie-Egan. So that may be interesting. We're going to have to keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, plows have been out. I've seen the plows in effect doing their best, moving in through the Snohomish County side of things. 405, I-5 really crowding in. 522 finding that slower volume around the north end of Lake Washington at this point. And to the north, that is where all of our trouble has just kind of continued for us. Getting from Snohomish County, getting to Skagit County, getting up to Whatcom County. That's where it all continues to really sock in. That rain-snow mix, or in this case, ice and snow, being reported through Marysville and Smoky Point and Arlington, shifting over to the peninsula, Port Angeles and Sequim, where we've seen up to a foot of snow, really making things treacherous on 101 and folks having to drive accordingly. Needing your chains potentially if you are headed for the mountain passes and watching I-5 getting up towards the U.S.-Canadian Canadian border. That becomes more and more difficult the further north you go. In fact, the Vancouver airport has been out of commission this morning because they can't get flights out. The runways have been iced up. So Vancouver airport has encouraged folks to just not even try showing up. So it's trouble here in the U.S., but continues to Canada. It's not like Canada just disappears, right? Mountain passes, Stevens, Snoqualmie Pass. We've got chains required for all except all-wheel drive. Blewett Pass, also chains required for all except all-wheel drive. White Pass at this point, traction tires required, chains on the big rigs. So this winter driving condition is here, and it's with us. It's not going anywhere anytime soon by the looks of it. Guys, back over to you.
Adam, thanks. So we are continuing our team coverage this morning in Whatcom County.
And John Hopperstad is back out there. John, where do we find you?
Well, we're in Bellingham now, Bill. We're right by the airport, in fact, off of Airport Drive here. And the good news, at least for visibility for drivers out here, is that the snow has stopped. The bad news is it is incredibly slick. If you look out here, all the roads are completely snow covered right now. And we've seen people get stuck on this hill as they head up to try to get to I-5 here. It's that kind of greasy, slushy snow that covers the roads here. And it's tough going, especially if you don't have four-wheel drive or chains like Adam was talking about. We have seen plenty of plows out here. One of the problems, though, with the situation, even with the plows coming through, and we've seen a lot of them, is that we've seen snow drifts as well, because there's been a lot of wind up here that continues to blow the snow across the roads. That's been a real issue in Linden, where we were earlier this morning. We've seen a lot of snow blow across the roads there. Visibility was lousy for hours there, and the wind chill dropped temperatures well below zero, probably 11 below zero when we were there just in the last few minutes. But it's not stopping people from getting the shovel out, shoveling their sidewalks, and opening up their business.
There's a lot of snow. It was a little rough getting into here today, but we're trugging along and keeping it going. Here in Linden, we just weather through, and we get our stores and our businesses open and help out the community.
Now, we mentioned that a lot of cars getting stuck out there, and we've been out helping to push people out of the snow. It's happened, you know, when it was dark out. It's happened in the daylight. It's just that you get on these surfaces like this, and if you stop, a lot of times it's tough to get started again. We just saw a truck spinning his wheels coming out of this driveway here as well. So driving is still tough up here, but again, the good news at this point, it looks like the snow has let up. In fact, I've actually seen blue skies up here in the last couple of minutes, something I didn't think I would see here this morning in Whatcom County. We're live in Bellingham. John Hopperstad, Fox 13 News.
Blue sky. Wow. Not what I thought I'd hear today. John, thank you. Okay, so we also, you know, you can send in your videos of your snow, where you are this morning. This is from Richard this morning, who sent in his dogs enjoying. I mean, it doesn't get any better.
That is the dog snow day energy, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, we love that. I mean, and that's the way it's going for a lot of folks today. You know, the kids are out of school for the most part. They don't have to get out in this. A lot of people are already off for the holiday, and the dogs are loving their life.
All right, not loving life. Folks trying to navigate Queen Anne Hill in Seattle right now. This is the obligatory shot of Queen Anne in the snow, and very slowly.
Oof. That can get
truck trying to navigate that hill.
I know. I hear Brian going, "No, don't do it."
Well, we
that
know,
can get really dangerous.
Well, yeah, I mean, we know that they've treated the roads, but Queen Anne is the prototypical danger spot, so we're going to keep an eye on that.
Also, I know that Redmond police just tweeted a couple minutes ago that 148th Avenue Northeast, the northbound side of Redmond Way, is closed right now for stalled vehicles right now, and you were saying that can be a really hairy part of town as well.
That's really difficult when the roads ice over there, because there's just enough of a grade that you're going to be sliding around. And there's the alert from Redmond PD, and they're saying that Redmond Way closed right now. So as you head up towards 85th there, that is going to be shut down because so many cars are spinning out. They just can't get traction. But I have a feeling that Redmond's going to be treating those roads and trying to get that up to snuff in short order. But that's a dicey go. You know, and that's the thing. You know, people from around the country say, "Why do you guys freak out so much when it snows?" It's because we have hills.
A lot of hills, steep hills. Yes, absolutely. So we'll be watching tracking that as police are opening and closing certain roads and things get a little dicey out there. Meteorologist Abby Aconi is on our weather deck as well. You have been tracking the snow, and also, man, you look good out there in it. You're selling it.
I'm not going to lie, Abby, you look cold in it.
I look cold. Yeah, I feel like Jack on the Titanic with all of the snow on my hair. Do you know what I mean? I feel like I'm just like slowly.
Wow, you really painted a picture for us there.
That was tough.
You're doing great.
Yeah, wow, I really took us to a low place. I'm sorry, everyone. I am legitimately loving my life right now, and I have very fond memories watching news coverage here growing up of Queen Anne. I always wanted to know what the hill was looking like, how the drivers were doing, so I love that we have a live shot of that. Hey, I want to talk about our snow accumulations. It's been coming down here outside of our Lake Union studios, Westlake, for about an hour. So remember, people, when you're measuring, we want to do so on a very flat surface. Don't do it on the grass. It's really bumpy. That texture isn't going to give you a really good reading. We've seen less than an inch so far sticking over the last hour, and the roads right now not in terrible shape. It seems like folks are able to navigate it so-so. It is slushy, it is wet, but the snow accumulation here isn't too gnarly, and we're only expecting the snow here in the Seattle area to be somewhat temporary, maybe wrapping by noon or 1 o'clock. It's an evolving situation, so stick with us. I want to show you some videos that we've been tracking. We've been loving these Vera photos and videos, but also our very own Dan Griffin, for example, capturing shots in Marysville of the snow accumulating and creating some problems, especially side streets, neighborhood roads, Snohomish County. My goodness, it's been a mess in many spots, including Lake Stevens, where we also have video of that light snow accumulation. Be careful again on those side streets. Some of these snow totals have been impressive. Are you ready for it? Let's do this. Ferndale, 10 inches of snow. We're talking about 8 inches for Lummi Island. Got a report of that. 7 to 8 in Poulsbo. About 7.5 in Bellingham. Overall, National Weather Service saying Whatcom County getting between 8 and 12 inches of snow accumulation. All right, back out here live. We have been talking about such a complicated forecast, the battle between that mild and cold air. Brian, we've been tracking it all morning long. What do you make of our snow chances in Seattle for the rest of the day today?
Well, things look like they're going to wrap up here over the course of the next hour and a half or so. And then we're going to be pretty much done for the day here, at least in Seattle and north of Seattle. But we got to get through the next hour and a half here first, and snow is still coming down very hard around the greater Seattle metro area, especially north of the city. Right now, this is a live look here from our Lake Union camera. There's Abby right there on the weather deck. You can see her there, kind of a different angle as we look down Westlake Avenue heading south. 32 degrees is your temperature in the city. If you were watching us, let's say about 3 hours ago, you remember that temperature was much more, about 6 degrees warmer, and it was just rainy here around Seattle. Well, the cold air won out. We had some heavy downpours. It helped drop those temperatures down here toward the surface. And now we're looking at snow in the city, and that warm air, cold air is still battling itself out right here in the Seattle area. And now even the Soto area is catching some snow. Out towards Bremerton, we're getting some significant snowfall. And then as you work your way a little farther north, up towards Linwood, Alderwood, Everett, continuing on up to Arlington. You get north of Arlington, though, now we're catching a break. John Hopperstead was saying, hey, I see some sunbreaks up there on the north end, up towards Bellingham and Whatcom County. Sure enough, they're done with the snow here for now, along with you folks out along the straight out near Port Angeles, where you had significant totals. These are updated road temperatures. So the road temperatures have cooled off in much of the Seattle area, especially up there. I-5 and I-405, 29 degrees now. That has dropped a degree or two since we checked it last. That's the actual temperature of the road. So when temps are well below freezing and in the 20s, real tough for that snow and ice to melt. Then you work your way a little farther north. Check it out up there in Whatcom County. Road temps are in the teens. That ain't going anywhere. So 15 in Bellingham, 26 in Everett. We're at 32 right now in Seattle. And let's take a look here at your futurecast as we move throughout the rest of the day. Now, this is at noon. It's still snowing in Seattle, but Everett, you're catching a break then. All this will push its way up into the Cascades as we work our way into the late afternoon and early evening. We are done with it here from the majority of the area tonight, except for the convergence zone, which could see a few light snow showers in Snohomish County in the overnight period tonight. All right, so what do we expect here going forward? Well, snow will continue for some, rain for others through the next few hours. Best chance for snow is going to be the Seattle area and north of Seattle up through Snohomish County. That'll be for the next 2 hours. Cold temps, though, are expected the next 2 days. I don't expect what's on the ground to go anywhere other than what may thaw here this afternoon, because temps are only going to make it in the 20s here for Wednesday and for Thursday. Check out those overnight lows as well. 20s Tuesday night, and then Wednesday night, we're going to be down into the teens. All right, I think we have on the line with us right now Trooper Kelsey Harding with the Washington State Patrol. And Trooper, can you tell us what is going on out there on the roads right now? We're looking at some of our traffic cameras, and especially up there on the King County, Snohomish County line. The snow looks like it's really coming down, and people are having some big issues.
Hi, yeah, so currently right now a lot of our troopers are on collisions, exactly in the area that you're saying. So that Everett-Linwood area on I-5 and I-405, we're experiencing a lot of collisions, a lot of vehicles going off the roadway, and just a lot of disabled vehicles because they can't drive in the amount of snow that we've accumulated here in the past couple hours.
So I would assume at this point here, if you can stay home, I'm sure you would recommend that people stay home right now.
Oh, absolutely. So, I mean, the best course is to stay home. Like, it's a snowy day, stay home, enjoy some hot chocolate and some Christmas movies or a holiday movie. It's the perfect day for it. But if you do have to go out, make sure that you slow down. We got to drive for the weather that we have, and we have a lot of snow and ice on the roadway, and also that we give people a good amount of following distance. If you are going to be trying to brave the pass, make sure you do have those chains.
Are you seeing a lot of accidents out there, or is it mostly stalled vehicles, people having a rough time getting up some of our area hills?
It's a mixture of both. So there are currently troopers out with collisions, mainly collisions right now, but they've been going to disabled all morning and collisions. We have some one-car pulls, non-injury, but people just start losing traction and losing control of the vehicle and hitting either other cars or, like I was saying, a pole or whatever happens to be there on the shoulder.
All right, if somebody finds themselves in a situation where, you know, they get into an accident and, you know, obviously the freeways are kind of a mess there on the north end, what should you do if you're, you know, on the freeway or on one of these major thoroughfares here and you find yourself in a situation where you do get in an accident?
If you are in an accident, like anytime, you want to try to clear the roadway so that it doesn't become a bigger problem. I get it's kind of hard to see the shoulders with the snow, but move as far over to the right as possible. If you can't do that, you try to stay in your car because we don't want you to be outside in a car, lose control, and become a worse situation. Call 911 and we'll get there as fast as we can to assist you guys. The only issue is we are currently at, like every trooper is at a collision right now. So if we're not at a collision, we're on our way to a collision. So we'll get there as quickly as we can.
Yeah, that really gives you an indication of what we're dealing with, you know, particularly in the North Sound this morning, Seattle northward. Do you have any idea on the number of spinouts or collisions at this point in the area and where those are?
So I did pull up the collisions for just Snohomish County, so that's going to be the pass and everything that's considered Snohomish County. And so far today we have 33 collisions, which is quite a bit considering it's only 10 a.m. right now. And as you're saying, I heard earlier with the weather going to possibly get worse, more snow and the ice and everything. So probably expected to see just as much later this evening. Most of the area is going to, it started off actually closer up to Marysville around milepost like 200 to 206. But now most of our troopers are out on collisions near milepost like 180 to 190. And that's on I-5, and then on 405, you're going to see it from milepost 30 to milepost 26, which is going to be your Bothell, Linwood, Everett area.
You know, what we've seen already this morning, Trooper Harding, cars that maybe overestimate their car's ability in the snow and drivers who maybe overestimate their ability to drive in the snow. How much of an issue is that when we deal with conditions like this?
Considering the fact that we do get a lot of abandoned vehicles, I think it is a pretty big issue. Sometimes people don't realize that, you know, you don't have all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, and it's just that front-wheel, rear-wheel drive with the two-wheel drive. sometimes you lose traction, and it's not anything that's the fault of the driver. The vehicle's just not made to handle the snow. And so if you have a car like that, I mean, if I could stay home, I would. Unfortunately, I do have a job to do.
Yeah, you do.
If you can't, yes, if you can't stay home, please do. We don't want people to put themselves in a bad situation to go out and get that last-minute present. I mean, yes, ideally having all your Christmas presents on Christmas Day is perfect, or having that Christmas deal, but everybody's safety is more important than that, and we can give Christmas gifts or holiday gifts after the actual holiday. So we recommend staying home if you can. And again, if your vehicle and you find yourself gets in a bad situation, it's best to try to get off the roadway and get to a parking lot or somewhere safe if you do have to leave your car.
So we're just scrolling through these DOT cameras up and down 405 right now, and you can see some areas. It's almost like blizzard-like conditions right now. Trooper Kelsey Harding with the Washington State Patrol, we appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for all your hard work.
All right, thank you, guys.
All right, we also want to get back to our team coverage this morning. Frankie Thompson, right outside our station on Lake Union. How you doing out there?
Well, the snow is still coming down, and it seems like during every live report, the snowflakes get bigger and bigger. So we know that the snow is going to continue. But we also heard Brian and Abby mention earlier that the freezing temperatures are going to get a lot colder. So that is going to be a concern for a lot of people, especially those who are experiencing homelessness. So the city of Seattle is trying to get as much information out as possible. We want to give you some of those details right now. So for those who need to find a warm and safe place to stay, to get away from this, the Seattle Center and the Fisher Pavilion is going to open up a shelter overnight for those who are experiencing homelessness and are 18 and older. Those hours are going to open tonight at 7 p.m. and it will stay open through tomorrow morning, closing at 9 a.m. And those who just need a place to get out of the snow and stay safe, maybe they don't have heat at their home, there is going to be a warming center also at the Seattle Center. That's going to be at the Seattle Center Armory. That's open now, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And that's going to stay open daily until this weather event passes. So for those who need to escape those freezing temperatures, there are some spots available here in the Seattle area, and we're going to continue updating that information from the city as soon as we get it. But this weather is still coming down. It's going to get colder. We want to make sure people are safe, and we'll get that information to you as soon as we get it in. We'll send it back to you in the studio. Reporting live in Seattle, Frankie Thompson, Fox 13 News.
So, Frankie, we're seeing the snow falling, and we're seeing it sticking there, and it appears to be sticking to the roadway as well, but drivers able to navigate Westlake Avenue pretty well. What are you seeing there?
You know, they seem to be taking it slow. Not that car, though. Not that blue one just passed by. The speed limit here on this road is 25 miles an hour, and folks seem to be driving a little bit close to that. You can see a lot of snow-covered cars back here, but as far as the road conditions and how people are driving, it appears that people are taking it easy, especially since it's slushy here, and the concern is that it's going to turn to ice. But for the most part, everyone's going at a pretty safe pace out here.
All right, Frankie, appreciate you. Be safe out there this morning. And man, I mean, it's good to know that at least it's pretty safe on Westlake. That is a main route through downtown Seattle. Developing also right now. Got about 2,000 people without power in Snohomish County, the majority of those in Marysville. This is a look at the outage map for you this morning, just to give you a bit of an idea of where some of those major outages are. Also, PSE tracking just under 1,400 outages as well. So these numbers can change as more and more crews head out there and, you know, more folks are without power. Stay with us all day with more on those efforts to get that power back on. We do want to get you to our team coverage, Queen Anne this morning. Brisa Mendez is over in Queen Anne, where that area gets really messy when the snow comes down.
Yeah, no question about it. What are you seeing there, Brisa?
That's right. I'm out here in Queen Anne. It is very cold. Temperatures in the 30s as we start to see snow is falling really hard as we take a closer look at the road conditions, making it very slushy for drivers. We're seeing that car taking it very slow. That's exactly what you want to do. Take it slow if you're commuting this morning, especially later into this evening. Now, despite the snow as of this hour, so far no accidents or delay in this area of Queen Anne. However, you do want to drive very slow. That could change in any 22nd. Buses are still running. Construction workers around the corner are still working. Just some heavy snowflakes and very cold temperatures. If you're traveling and hitting the road for later today for this holiday week, heading into eastbound or westbound, do expect those heavy snow conditions. If you're driving today, make sure you allow plenty of time to arrive to your destination safely. For now, reporting live in Queen Anne, Brisa Mendez, Fox 13 News, back to the studio.
All right, so monitoring the deteriorating conditions on the Seattle hills and also keeping an eye on what's happening at the airport. Hundreds of flights canceled or delayed right now, and many more expected throughout the day. The majority from Alaska Airlines right now. And let's see.
Yeah,
what are the latest? 191 flights canceled, and the majority of those Alaska Airlines. They had canceled 100 flights yesterday as a precaution, and now folks worried that a lot of folks worried that they won't get to their holiday destination on time.
On top of the 191 cancellations, 72 delays in or out of Seattle Tacoma this morning. So we'll keep tracking that. Hey, want to let you know you can also download the Fox 13 weather app on your smartphone and get weather alerts sent right to you. On top of that, you can check conditions wherever you are. You can find it for free in the Google app, Google Play rather, and the App Store.
Yeah, it's a great app, and Patrick Miller sent us this video earlier today. It's so easy to do on the app. You just push submit, and this is a snowy game of fetch in the backyard that Patrick sent in to us. Great snow day for the dogs.
Also, coming in from Paulsbo, look at this. The chickens don't mind the snow. How about that? I mean,
and the geese either.
Who knew you get a double dose or triple dose of Liz's Petrix today? We'll count it. All right. Just about 10:30 right now as we continue our team coverage in Snohomish County. Also, just learned from Snohomish, Washington, tweeting moments ago with the heavy snowfall, they are diverting crews to support those snowplow efforts. They are letting people know that City Hall is closing early. So they're just asking people if they need anything to go to the snohomishwa.gov website, or you can email them as well. But that is where we find Dan Griffin this morning in Snohomish County. Dan, good morning. How you doing out there?
Hey, good morning to you. Yeah, you know what? That heavy snowfall that we saw just a little bit ago seems to have calmed down. Now we're getting these nice light little flakes that are coming down. But, you know, I have to say, between like one of the live shots I did, I think around 9 o'clock, and then the one around 9:30, we had to have gotten at least, I think, 1/4 of an inch. All this was covered back up again. And I had been scooping chunks of this out just to show you all what we were seeing as that snow was coming down. So that's pretty interesting. The roads here in Marysville still pretty slushy, though. I mean, you can see the crews. I haven't seen a salt truck or a plow come through here in a while, but the cars that have been coming through have been working this down again. It's pretty interesting. When we started here this morning, it was a little bit slushy, a little bit snowy, and then we had like this break, and the cars were able to kind of work this down. The plows were able to come through, kind of clear it out, and then we just got pounded by some heavy snow here for a while, and it put it all back on. And then we even got more on the sidewalks and the side streets here. So what we've been seeing, a lot of traffic going back and forth, people getting where they need to go, obviously leaving some extra space and going a bit slower than they usually would. We've seen a few trucks even fishtail a little bit. They were obviously able to get that back under control. And then even across the way over here, we saw, actually, Nando, can we go over here? Look at this. There's a guy with his dog. He's taking his dog for a walk, and I'm hoping we can show him. The dog is literally right over here rolling around in the snow. So, like, he's enjoying that as well. Oh, there he goes. But it's pretty cool, you know, I mean, this is what we're seeing right now. A lot of this snow coming down, people trying to do their best to deal with it, and obviously the crews out here trying to clean it up as well. So this is what we've been seeing so far. I know we'd mentioned there are some issues with some power outages as well. Obviously a lot more work to do and assess what's left behind from this snowstorm, but that is what we're seeing here right now in Marysville. Reporting live, Dan Griffin, back to you.
All right, Dan, thank you so much. So how long will this weather event be with us, Brian?
I think for another hour or so, an hour to an hour and a half here, then we should be done. And you see it slowly tapering off up there to the north, up there where Dan is. We're kind of catching the back edge of things in certain locations that have been hit really hard over the past hour. I'll show you that here on the radar in just a couple of minutes. But a look from our Lake Union camera right now, you can still see the snow coming down downtown. As we get people home and as people finally get to their destinations, you know, this is kind of a fun thing, too. Of course, it's serious with the traffic on the roadways, but thankfully this is happening during a week where most people are off of work and most people are off of school. Granted, the few days before Christmas is not great if you're heading out shopping or something like that. But I hope you get outside and have some fun in this snow. 31 degrees is our temp right now in Seattle. That, my friends, is the coldest temperature Seattle has been all morning long. Let's take a look at the radar, and this really tells the story here as some heavier downpours push their way into the Seattle area. The cold air won out, and it kind of pushed some of that colder air that was higher up down toward the surface for a brief amount of time, enough to give us an inch or two here in the Seattle area. Now, up to the north, we're kind of done with stuff up there near Bellingham. The front is moving through this blue line. I drew that on there. If you're north of that line, well, you're pretty much done with the showers for the rest of the day today. But south of Everett, as you work your way in towards Seattle, and that includes areas like Linwood and Alderwood, and continuing on out to Edmonds, where we're seeing some heavier precip, heavier snow right now. Continuing on into Kenmore and Bothell and Woodinville. Those areas are getting hit with snow. It's cold enough, certainly, and it's coming down hard enough to where it's accumulating still in those areas. Now, for the first time this morning, we're seeing snow over on the east side out towards Bellevue and Issaquah and North Bend. We're even seeing snow stretching as far south as SeaTac at this hour. So the cold air really trying to shove all that warm air out of the picture. But if you're down towards Tacoma, Puyallup, Yelm, oh, you know, spots like Lacey and Olympia, you're just dealing with cold rain showers. In fact, temps are in the 40s in some spots down there. So the rest of the day today, Seattle area and north, you're going to be dealing with icy slush and in some spots compact snow. That will be mainly in western Skagit and western Whatcom counties where you're going to deal with that real hard packed snow. That's not going anywhere for a while. We will get a little bit of a break here from things, and there will be some thawing this afternoon. However, it's not going to be a big thaw, a great thaw where we get it just completely washed away. And whatever's left is going to stick around for the next couple of days. I expect compact snow and ice with a hard freeze overnight tonight. That's going to make tomorrow morning's commute really rough as well. All right, current temperatures in the teens up in Bellingham, 20s in Everett, 40s in Olympia. Look at that temperature difference between Bellingham and Olympia. Pretty remarkable. All right, up in the mountains, we'll continue to see some snowfall up there, up to another 6 to 8 inches or so. I think we're pretty much done up towards Mount Baker, but all the passes continuing to see some snowfall. And here, my friends, is your 7-day forecast. And as we get into the next couple of days, look at those highs, only in the 20s. Overnight lows in the mid-20s here tonight, mid-teens tomorrow night, and then we're going to stay in the low 20s there on Thursday night. And I'm really worried about Thursday night and into Friday morning. If we get any type of precip coming in on Thursday night and into Friday morning, that could either be in the way of snow or freezing rain, and that could really ice things over there for the Friday morning commute. As we get into Saturday and Sunday, where things really warm up, we're back close to 50 degrees by Christmas Day. Monday looking even warmer into the low 50s. So yes, we're not going to be stuck in this for a really long time, but for a few days here, it could be bitter cold with icy conditions all over the place. All right, let's send it on over to Adam. He's got a check on the roads, and the roads have been something else this morning.
They certainly have at this point, and unfortunately, I wish I could say I could change my DOT camera shot right now, but the DOT systems seem to be locked up. I'm wondering if this is because of high demand. We'll find out. But what I can tell you is that in this particular shot, I-5 closer in towards 529 continues to be problematic for us in the fact that you've got just a lot of snow and ice. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and turned on what we call the road weather index, and that's where you see weather conditions and how they meet the road. Noticing the pink equaling ice, the white equaling snow, the blue is ponding and water. So anything to the south, we've seen that really impact South King County, Pierce County, Thurston County wet. Everything from now I-90 and up, it's looking like snow and ice mix, or snow to the extent that we're seeing a lot of volume on either direction of 405 in through Filbert, where there was an earlier collision. We've seen southbound I-5 really tackled in from Everett all the way down to the King-Snohomish County line in tough order, as well as that snowfall has really just been coming down in buckets. You're also finding that US 2 across the trestle moves slower. Volumes and speeds overall on I-5 moving heavier at this point. While the plow crews have been out, the other word of caution is don't crowd the plow, or plows. Plural, right? Because often they work in tandem. So you see a plow line of them all working together to get all lanes clear at the same time. Moving to the peninsula, have been finding difficulties in through Port Angeles and Port Townsend, where they've seen over a foot of snow this morning. Drivers trying to move north in through Bellingham. That continues to be difficult up towards the U.S.-Canadian border. The Vancouver airport currently out of commission because of snowfall at this time. So no flights getting out of Vancouver. Looking to take an international flight. That may be an issue for you yet. Also looking to our mountain passes. Stevens Pass, Snoqualmie Pass, checking in with change required for all. Unless you have all-wheel drive, even then, visibility, check that out. Hard to do at this point. Blewett Pass also with chains required for all except all-wheel drive, and White Pass traction tires are required chains on the big rigs. The big takeaway is this winter driving, it's here. We warned you about it, and it's official. Basically, I'm looking at the north end of King County, still up into Snohomish, Skagit, and Whatcom County, getting it the worst, at least for the time being. All right, Liz and Bill, back over to you.
All right, want to talk a little bit about what's going on in Redmond this morning. Police have been busy up there. They just tweeted about a road closure. This is Northeast 104th Street and 184th Avenue Northeast. That area is closed due to an injury collision there, so they're asking people to find another route. This is on top of the fact that Redmond Way was also closed due to stalled cars in that area.
Yeah,
so
it's really tough. If you're familiar with that area, that is my hood. So if you're going up that big hill, over Rose Hill, down into Redmond from 85th there. So Redmond Way and getting up over that hill can be really challenging on days like this. I want to take a look at some of the videos that we have acquired this morning from around the area. And John Hopperstad has been literally Johnny on the spot this morning, helping some stalled cars out in the north end this morning up in Whatcom County. This has been the scene up there this morning, but it seems like the snow is subsiding now. And there's John up there in the right corner with a bunch of Good Samaritans helping a stuck car get out. And there he was earlier this morning helping another car. So John should get some, you know, some side money or something from AAA, don't you think?
The audience appreciates his heroic behavior. I mean, John, I feel like you do this every time. You do a little bit of reporting and you do a lot of saving people from the snow as well, John.
Well, you know, I've been there, so I know the pain of not being able to move your vehicle when you want to. So, yeah, I try to jump out and help some people out. I'll take a donut if you want to throw a donut my way. But we're in Bellingham, we're near one of the spots where we helped a driver earlier this morning. And I'll tell you what, there's going to be drivers that are going to need help again. If you do not have all-wheel drive or a good four-wheel drive vehicle, you're going to run into trouble out here still, even though the snow has stopped. He's backing up there, Dante. He's backing up. Even though the snow has stopped, we're here on East Sunset Drive, and it is still snow covered. It's that gray, slushy snow, really gets greasy. In fact, we're just kind of walking around on it here, and you just slip and slide just walking around on this stuff. So, yeah, we're going to see more people get stuck here this morning, even though, as I mentioned, it has stopped snowing. In fact, I have seen blue skies at some point. I really feel bad for kids right now who are out of school. They watched it snow all night. They got about a foot where we're standing and just waiting for the snow to stop and the sun to come out so they can go do some sledding. But the problem is it's extremely cold still up here. The wind chill is below zero, and the winds have actually died down in the last couple of minutes, but it is continuing to be cold. The thermostat says it's about 15 degrees out here, but we know it is colder than that with the wind chill as well. So not a really good day to go out and try to play in this stuff. Maybe it warms up at some point today or tomorrow, but for now, I think kids are going to have to stay inside and just kind of look out and appreciate all the snow here. But as you mentioned, going into Linden this morning was really tricky stuff because it was snowing and the wind was blowing the snow around. Snow drifts are an issue as well up here. So it's going to be some rough sledding for the next couple of days, I think, around this area. So even though the snow has stopped, if you live in Whatcom County, I would not suggest trying to go out on the roadways and drive around on this stuff because you got to watch out for the other guy as well. And one other thing I want to mention here is I'm seeing a lot of cars covered in snow here this morning out on the roadways. And again, they got about a foot of snow up here. So you'll see like a foot of snow on the car, and then that little circle where they wipe away so they can see through the windshield. Well, that's never good because, of course, that snow is going to blow off to the guy behind you. So if you are driving around here getting ready to go out in your car, make sure you clear the entire car off before you go, because I'm seeing a lot of folks up here who did not do that, guys.
Yeah, you definitely want to do that before you head out. You can also get stopped by the cops and get a big old fine, and on top of it, it's just super dangerous. John, appreciate you being out there, and thank you for helping people get their cars out of those, you know, stuck messes there. Taking a live look this morning. Actually, this looks like some video from earlier. This is snow in Kitsap County. This is from Holly in Poulsbo earlier this morning. So, by the way, thank you for sending us what you are seeing in your neighborhoods. We can't be everywhere, of course, and this helps us tell the story.
Yeah, Kitsap County, Island County really getting slammed with snow this morning. And look at the snow falling in Bothell earlier this morning. Hey, a heads up, you can use that Fox 13 weather app to send us video of the conditions where you live. We have live real-time radar on the app. You can see what the weather's like where you are and where you're going. It is free to download on Google Play and the App Store. Okay, let's go outside our station right now in downtown Seattle. The snow is still falling right now. Frankie Thompson along Westlake Avenue. How's it looking?
Well, we're not pushing out any cars like John was. The snow here seems to be falling just fine. People are navigating the conditions pretty easily. I just saw this white car that's going to pass behind us. He cleared the snow off of his car with a magazine. So it's nice, pretty snow out here, but the conditions can get slick for those who are not familiar with this kind of weather. That is definitely true. We're hearing some information from the Seattle Department of Transportation that have responded to a couple of crashes and one car blocking the road. Those crashes are at Northeast 80th Street and 5th Avenue Northeast, as well as East Boston Street and 15th Avenue Northeast. Now, that car blocking the road, that's on 4th Avenue North and Queen Anne Ave. So some people are having a little bit of challenges this morning getting through, navigating through the snow and the slick roads here. But for the most part here on Westlake Avenue North, people seem to be driving by just fine. Of course, they are taking it a little bit slower this morning because they want to get to their destination safely, because we know that the roads are a little bit slushy right now, but that stuff could freeze, and that's what's going to cause some concern and potential collisions on the roads here, and as we are hearing from SDOT, other places throughout the city. We'll send it back to you in the studio. Reporting live in Seattle, Frankie Thompson, Fox 13 News.
All right, Frankie, appreciate you there. We also want to continue our team coverage to Queen Anne this morning, where we find Brisa Mendez.
And Brisa, you've been dealing with some pretty challenging conditions on Queen Anne Hill. That is one of the most famous spots on snow days, watching drivers try to navigate that nasty hill. How's it going?
I'm still out here in Queen Anne looking at those road conditions, making it very slushy to drive out, enough snow to make a snowman. As we take a closer look at that steep hill where cars are taking it very slow to avoid any accidents. We're looking at buses with chains in the tires driving very slow. Now, despite this hour, there are no accidents or delays up this hill. We're looking at those cars taking it and driving very slow. That is exactly what you want to do, driving these snow conditions. And as we continue to cover the snow conditions and road for this morning, make sure you're allowing plenty of time to arrive to your destination. As of right now, the traffic lights are still working. Construction workers are still working down the block. For now, reporting live in Queen Anne, Brisa Mendez, Fox 13 News. Back to the studio.
All right, thank you. All right, also this morning here, just want to show you what things are looking like all around the region this morning here, and what we saw some folks having to deal with there. I mean,
this was Whatcom County earlier this morning,
I mean, they just got
you could, I mean, it was like a blizzard condition.
Wow.
The wind blowing the snow sideways there, very difficult to navigate there. But the snow has subsided for the most part in the north end now. So what we've seen on the ground is on the ground, and we're going to be dealing with this for a few days because it's going to remain very, very cold.
It sure is. So we have our weather team tracking that. We've also got Jennifer Dowling for us in Ferndale this morning. What are conditions like where you are right now? It looks like it's slowed down significantly.
Well, we are in Everett right now. We're on our way to Ferndale, though, and I can tell you we got slowed down a little bit because the roads were so icy, and we've really had to take our time. But we'll get there eventually. But I want to show you what it looks like right here on Everett. Broadway Street right now near 39th. You can see that the conditions are very slick. We haven't seen many slide-offs, though, when we were on the highway. I was kind of surprised by that, but I think people are heeding the warnings, and they're taking it very slow. You can see these drivers here, you know, just kind of cruising very slowly down. Smart. You should be very cautious if you're heading out, because there's some very slushy conditions. You know, easy to kind of lose a little traction there. We're also right next to the Funko Field sign where it says "Let It Snow," which is super appropriate for today because it is still coming down here in the Everett area. And I wanted to draw your attention to what the snow is looking like here. As far as like snowballs and snowmen, it's pretty decent. It's not as sticky as maybe you'd like, but you could kind of have some family fun and snowball fights if you're together for the holidays. But it's also very slushy underneath here. So when it gets ice packed, you can see that things are a little slick under here. It's not pure ice, but this slush can be pretty tricky on the roads. We had some fly up into our windshield, big chunks of this, as the truck went by. In the left lane, it kind of kicked the slush onto our windshield and made a horrible thud. It was quite shocking, but we have all-wheel drive, so we're very fortunate. And so nothing happened, but if you don't have the proper gear, the proper equipment, the proper tires, I wouldn't head out. I wouldn't head out anyway if I didn't have to. I'd stay home by the fire and get cozy, or just curl up on the couch and watch some good shows. But watch Fox 13, watch our weather reports, let us be cold. You stay home and have fun. But anyway, I wouldn't head out. I would stay home and be cozy. Back to you in the studio.
Yeah, and from the state of those roads behind you, it looks like a lot of people taking that advice. So let's check in with meteorologist Abby Coney on our weather deck in Seattle, and the snow is still falling out there.
Yeah, that's right. We're still seeing some very light snowflakes. It's been falling for the last hour or two. I have my ruler. All is right in the world. Are you ready to do this? Let's measure. We want to do this on an even surface, not over the grass. We've accumulated about an inch of snow here. Looking great. We started things off with rain. Now we're seeing some snow. As we look back over Westlake right now, roads for the most part are bare and wet. There is some slush in spots. The thing about this forecast, it's complicated. It's evolving. It's been changing throughout the morning, and conditions will be different hour to hour. So Brian's been talking about that. A reminder to stay with us on all platforms, social media, TV, and the web. Seattle, you might continue to see some of these snowflakes over the next hour or two. Before things wrap up for the greater Seattle area this afternoon, things will be freezing again overnight, so a lot of this will become icy, very slick and slippery. We'd also continue to love to see your weather photos and videos. Send them in to us. You can do so easily on our news and weather apps. You just click submit. We'd love to showcase those here on Fox 13. Hey, quickly, I want to show you on our graphics how much snow we've had reported. These totals are coming into our newsroom, but so far, one of the biggest winners, Ferndale, 10 inches of snow, 8 inches reported on Lummi Island, 7 to 8 in Poulsbo, about 7.5 in Bellingham. In general, a range of 7 to 12 inches reported in Whatcom County. And lastly, a note as we get back out here live, it's not just the lowlands dealing with all of this snow, which of course is so unusual for us. It's the mountain passes. This is a big travel week, and the passes have also been struggling. Check conditions before you drive, and if you are able to stay more indoorsy than outdoorsy, we recommend that you do so. I'll send it back to you in the studio.
All right, Abby, appreciate it. Thank you. Also want to let you know we're getting some closures this morning here. We're learning that Bellevue College this morning is closed. The main and north campus is closed for all activities for the remainder of the day. Also, Lakewood School District is closed. No out-of-district transportation. The evening's events and activities are canceled as well. So that's Island and Snohomish County school districts. A lot of schools aren't even in session right now, but if there's any activities or anything happening, we'll be sure to let you know. Developing right now, though, we do have about 1,800 people without power in Snohomish County. The majority of those are in Marysville, as we show you a look at the outage maps. PSE tracking about 1,500 outages here as well. So stay with us all day for the latest on the efforts to bring the lights back on. We know crews are working on those.
Also, hundreds of flights are either canceled or delayed, and more expected throughout the day at SeaTac. 191 flights canceled at this point. The majority Alaska Airlines flights, 86 flights delayed, and they had already canceled 100 flights yesterday as a precaution. And a lot of people very concerned that they're not going to make it to their holiday destination on time. That really puts a wrinkle in their travel plans.
And I know that we've mentioned this here, but you should download the Fox 13 weather app on your smartphone. If you haven't done that already, you get the weather alerts right to you. You get the radar, the whole shebang. And then you can also check conditions where you are. And you can use it to send your pictures and video to us, which is super helpful. You can download it in the Google Play and App Store.
And want to show these snow dogs.
Snow dogs.
This is the snow day vibe right here. Who's having the best day?
I just love that energy. I mean, they are bringing it, these two. I bet they're still out there just tiring each other out.
Yep.
And also want to show you the snow in Paulsbo earlier this morning.
Wow.
This was from Jennifer out there, the entire back deck covered there, and it just kept coming down for a while, but it looks like the majority of the snowfall has subsided in the north end, Brian. Is that fairly accurate?
Yes.
And then what can we expect over the next couple hours?
Well, it's not going to go anywhere up there on the north end, unfortunately. I mean, temperatures are not going to get above freezing. I have one more dog photo to show you here. Because
bring it on. We
people
love
are
it.
starting to send their, because it's daylight now.
Yeah.
They're getting their dogs outside to play in it. I love this.
You know what? You know what's interesting?
What?
I had a husky when I was a kid named Chena.
Yeah? Did you really?
Yeah, named after the river in Alaska that I lived by.
I love
Isn't that weird?
6 inches of snow reported up there in Arlington. I just had a friend in Bothell tell me that they have 5 inches of snow in Bothell as well. So, you know, we started off slow here down in the Central Sound areas, and we sure made up for it over the past couple of hours. How about that? Keep those photos and videos coming. We'd love, love, love to see them. We'd love to feature them here on Good Day Seattle. All right. Hey, thanks for sticking with us, by the way. We're going to be on another hour, aren't we, you guys? Yeah, we could just keep this going. We got people all over the place. We're having fun. Let's talk about what's happening right now and how long this is going to last. You can see things have kind of tapered off a bit in the downtown core. Earlier on, we had some giant, enormous flakes that were coating Westlake Avenue. Westlake's looking a little bit better than it was just about an hour ago, but we're at 31 degrees right now. The winds shifted from southerly winds to northeasterly winds, and that's why we're seeing those much cooler temperatures. So the cold air won out. And here's a look at your radar right now. Notice most of the action down in the South Sound and the Central Sound. Up in the North Sound, you folks deserve a break. You're getting one now here. So Whatcom County, Skagit County, most of Snohomish County now is looking good. You're on the back edge of that front. That's going to continue to push through. And really over the next half an hour to 45 minutes, most of this action is going to continue to push its way southeast. And as it does that, the Seattle area will dry out and most of the Lake Washington area will dry out as well. Right now, though, south of Seattle towards SeaTac is where we're still seeing some snowfall. Up in the downtown core, we're at 31 degrees. Renton is now at 32. What's wild to me is that the cold air is winning out there as well. In Renton, about 2 hours ago, it was about 45 degrees there. Now we're back down to freezing. So they went from cold rain or mild rain to now maybe a mix of rain and snow or downright snow out in Renton. So everybody's getting in on the party here. Up towards Everett, we're starting to dry out a bit. We're still very chilly at 26. I wanted to show you Paulsbo, which is still continuing to see snow showers, along with many areas along Hood Canal, which got hammered overnight and into early this morning. Higher elevations as you work your way towards Quilcene, also seeing some snow at this hour. And to get to the rain, you got to go south. And this is where the warm air has won out, down towards Olympia and Tacoma. All right, road temperatures. Let's talk about those because those are a big deal. And in spots like I-5 and I-405, boy, we've seen quite a mess in that spot here all over the past couple of hours here. It's 29 degrees on the road, so that stuff is not melting right yet. I would expect as we get into the afternoon, we finally get a break from the precip for a lot of that to break up, and especially as we get those plows in there, that'll help out greatly. But up to the north in Whatcom County, this is going to be a hard freeze for the next few days up there. Temperatures like on the road are in the teens. In the air, the wind chills are down below 0 in spots like Blaine and Linden and Bellingham. Air temperatures right now 17 degrees in Bellingham. We're at 27 in Everett. Watch as we get on throughout the rest of the afternoon here. All of this moves its way up into the Cascades. We'll still see some flurries up in Snoqualmie Pass and Stevens Pass. White Pass also continuing to see some light snow showers through sunset. But most of us around the Puget Sound area are going to be looking dry for the rest of the day. Later on tonight, I am watching this as we could see a convergence zone develop in Snohomish County and North King County, where we could get additional accumulation there. So we'll be watching that here, and make sure to tune in a little bit later on this evening. Aaron Mayovsky will be in here to be tracking that later on. We get into tomorrow morning, and yes, we may clear out a bit with mostly cloudy skies to start and some sunshine in the mix in the middle part of the day, but it is going to be downright cold with high temps only in the upper 20s. So going to be a cool couple days here. I don't see much thawing happening, but snow will continue for some, rain for others, especially the South Sound. So the Seattle area and north, we'll have the best chance of snow for the next 2 hours or so. That all tapers off. Cold temps are expected here the next 2 days, and here's what that looks like. Overnight tonight, down into the mid-20s. We'll be in the upper 20s for your Wednesday afternoon. And then Thursday, we're dry, but our high temp only makes it to 25. This would be a good night here, well, tonight and especially tomorrow, to put those faucet covers on. So once we start getting down into the teens for overnight lows, got to worry about pipes and stuff like that. All right. That's your weather for now. I got your 7-day forecast coming up. I want to send it on over to Adam, who's been a busy man this morning. Yeah. The DOT cameras everywhere, especially up there in the Linwood and Bothell areas, have been a mess. How are things looking now, Adam?
Yeah, right now, and I think the DOT servers are taking a little bit of a hammering because everybody in the Puget Sound is trying to click and log on. Can I get where I want to go? Well, that's impacting everything right now. So, interesting. Here's the other story that kind of where weather and traffic collide. Brian's been talking about where the rain-snow line is going to be, or was going to be, or is. And that was really the crucial thing that determined on who got snow, when, and where. We've watched it dance around all morning. Right now, it currently sits right at about South Center, where you see the ponding and flooding indicator here, the blue on the map of this road weather index. Earlier this morning, say in the 4 and 5 o'clock hour, it was sitting right at 520. So everything from 520 north was seeing snow and ice. And then it went up towards almost the Alderwood-Linwood area, and then it dipped back down, and now it's down around South Center. So that's really kind of been an indicator as to where a lot of the snow and the ice has been falling. Continues to be an issue for us right now. So Central Puget Sound, all of our routes starting to see slower volumes. Folks handling these roads, taking them, thankfully, in a lot slower instances. But we've seen a number of spin-out collisions along 405 and along I-5, getting into the Alderwood-Linwood area and moving north up towards Everett. That's where I've seen the majority of our collisions so far this morning on the major highways and byways. Right in through this zone we see here. Another hot spot we've been watching, Marysville getting in towards Everett. This is usually a trouble spot. We usually see a lot of volumes. And a lot of folks usually traveling too fast on southbound 5 getting in towards 529. That's certainly been the case today. The peninsula has had its issues along 101, Port Angeles to Port Townsend, getting in through Squim and Brennan. You know, you get the idea of this, where this snowfall has really just stuck and sat with us. Port Angeles reporting up to almost a foot of snow earlier today. Seeing the difficulties also continuing, Cedar-Woolley to Bellingham, getting up towards Vancouver, BC. The Vancouver, BC airport out of commission because of the snowfall at this point. In fact, they've said, please don't try and show up at the airport. No flights are getting out. That continues to be the case. Mountain passes, Stevens Pass, Snoqualmie Pass, chains required for all except all-wheel drive. Blewett Pass right in that same boat, chains required for all except all-wheel drive. White Pass, traction tires are required, chains on the big rigs. This all continues to be winter driving treachery at this point, and that is just not going away anytime soon by the looks of it. All right, Liz and Bill, back over to you.
All right, we continue our team coverage as well, as we want to welcome you in for another hour of extended coverage here on Good Day Seattle this morning. And we start in Queen Anne, where we find Brisa Mendez.
Brisa, good morning. How's it looking there?
Good morning. I'm out here in Queen Anne. Enough snow to build a snowman. Very cold temperatures sitting in the 30s. We're looking at slushy road conditions. Traffic lights, however, still working. A few minutes ago, I saw people walking down the hill because buses are not driving down the hill. Now, we are looking at buses around the corner on the main street with tires on the chains, and we are looking at cars driving very, very slow. That is exactly what you want to do drive slow, allow plenty of time to arrive to your destination safely. Snowflakes have a little bit milder since we arrived earlier, so we're seeing just a couple of snowflakes so far, looking very calm right now. Construction workers working around the corner. For now, reporting live in Queen Anne, Brisa Mendez, Fox 13 News, back to the studio.
Okay, Brisa, appreciate you this morning here. We've got Jennifer Dowling out live this morning as well. We saw you cruising the roads and taking in what was going on there. Where are you right now, Jennifer, and how are conditions?
Well, we're currently in Everett off of Broadway near 39th Street, and conditions are pretty slushy and a little bit icy on the roads. If you take a look, you can see that we've got the I-5 connection here coming onto Broadway, and we've been told by some employees that work in this area that they've noticed a lot of drivers. We haven't seen any accidents or anything like that so far, but a lot of drivers come off I-5 and they get on this road and they think that it's salted like the highway, but employees here at Russell and Hill, injury and disability attorneys that have their offices right here where we're standing, they say that the cars are going too fast. They've seen this in the past. They get on this road. The drivers are not prepared. They think it's salted. They think the traction's going to be like it was on the highway. And then they slide right down this hill and hit some of the cars that could be parked here. Well, fortunately, nobody's parked here. Maybe everybody's taking a snow day. But you have to be prepared. This is a good warning. Be prepared for different driving conditions on different roads, because you can get off the highway, which is more treated by WashDOT, then get on Broadway here, not as treated. Slushy. This person's going fairly slow. We did see a truck that was coming pretty fast down through here, but you can see this hill is kind of like a ski slope. So if you lose control on here, you're going to slide quite a few feet, a few hundred feet, so you want to be cautious. So that's just the warning for drivers this morning when you're heading out. Be aware of your surroundings. Know that not every road is treated the same. A lot of folks here know that. But, you know, it bears repeating because nobody wants to get into a fender bender or worse and have some expensive bills or the hassle of taking care of that. So the advice is, if you can, of course, stay home, stay cozy, watch Fox 13. All of us out here, we'll do the heavy lifting. We'll be out in the snow. Go play in the snow in your yard, but don't hit the roads. Just not worth it right now. Enjoy the beautiful snowfall from your home. Back to you in the studio.
All right, Jennifer, thank you. And we did talk with WashDOT just in the last hour, talking about the number of collisions and slide outs that they've seen this morning, and they're responding to dozens. They say every available trooper's on the road dealing with that sort of thing right now. As we check in with Dan Griffin, who is joining us live. Dan, where do we find you?
Hey, good morning to you, Bill. Yeah, so we are headed southbound on I-5. We just passed the North Broadway exit here near Everett, and you can see the conditions now. This is what we're looking at. This is what everybody is dealing with right now if you are on even I-5. This is what the interstate looks like. It's slushy. People are going relatively slower than what you typically would. I'd say we're doing, what, about 38 miles an hour right now. I think there are just a lot of people being cautious about how they approach the commute here this morning. Even as we get closer to the noon hour, it's just still pretty messy and slushy. We got hit with snow, I'd say probably an hour or two ago. It was really heavy snow for a while. Anything that had been plowed, anything that had been slushy got a whole new layer. And so I think that's what we're seeing here now, is what people have been able to do themselves, really, to try to dig in and slush this up. I'll say the snow basically looks like it's stopped. I'm not seeing any new snowfall falling at this point, but certainly the remnants of the storm are still very much here and what people are dealing with right now. Traffic right now seems to be moving along pretty well. I'd say we're at about 40 miles an hour now. And we have seen a few snow plows out. I know they've got their hands full right now trying to get each and every mile plowed and cleared and treated this morning. So this is what we're seeing right now in this area. I will say a lot of those side streets where we were in Marysville definitely had not been touched. They were still white, maybe some tire tracks, but they didn't even really look slushy. And also on the interstate here, you can see quite a bit of slush. But the interesting thing, too, is we've seen some breaks on the clouds even little glimpses of sunshine every so often. So hopefully that will help to maybe heat this up a little bit, clear this up a little bit, and get people moving where they want to go. I know a lot of people have that holiday mindset right now, too. So even some of these people may be going to visit their relatives as we speak. So this is what we're seeing right now on the roadway. Of course, be safe, take it slowly, leave a lot of space. Bill and Liz?
Dan, appreciate it. Thank you on the roads for us there. We also want to touch base with SDOT this morning. We have Ethan Bergerson on the phone with the very latest. Ethan, good morning.
Good morning.
All right, thanks for being with us here. Let's talk a little bit about the road conditions in and around Seattle. What can you tell us right now?
Well, our crews are out there, and we're just continuing to respond to what nature throws at us. We got fortunate with, weather overnight led to a lot of roads that are clear right now, but we're watching really closely because that can change really quickly. When you've got temperatures hovering around freezing, the main thing that we are concerned about is the possibility of ice.
You better believe it. And right now we are looking at Queen Anne Hill and watching some drivers very carefully navigate that hill as they go down the hill right now. And that's obviously a treacherous spot. But the thing about Seattle, when we get snow like this, is that we have hills. So what has the city been doing to treat those hills so they are navigable?
Well, the first thing we do is we plan ahead, and we've got a snowplow route that you can check out and plan ahead with. We take the topography into account when we're doing that, and we work really closely with emergency services and transit operators to plan which routes we're going to treat, focusing on the most critical routes. But there are some hills that certain roads are too steep to plow safely. And so we make sure that we work with emergency services to have other roads that you can use to get to the top of the neighborhoods on the top of those hills.
There was a debate many years ago about how the streets are treated in Seattle after we had a particularly bad snow and ice storm. Can you tell us what's used to treat our roads?
So we use salt and de-icer to treat the roads. That's something we put a lot of thought into. It's sustainable and the most effective option we have available.
Okay, all right. And, Ethan, just a quick question. I mean, what do you anticipate, at least your SDOT crews, for sort of the afternoon and evening commute as we start to head into the later hours here?
Well, we don't know what the weather's going to throw at us. We do know that we're going to keep on working hard. SDOT crews have been working 24/7 since Sunday. We're going to keep on working as long as it's needed, keep on plowing those roads and treating those roads. Again, our goal is always to get the critical routes on our snowplow map cleared within 12 hours of a break in the storm.
And Seattle DOT has a lot of roads to deal with as well. We've seen some really challenging conditions up north. Can you talk about the sort of incidents that you've been dealing with?
Yeah, so we've got about 1,200 miles of roads within the city limits. And so we've been out there. We've been clearing roads, going and patrolling and making sure that, the roads are passable as much as we can do.
All right, Ethan Bergerson with SDOT. We appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for the work you're doing.
It's really the crews. I want to thank all those crews who are out there right now plowing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we echo that, yeah.
Okay, so meanwhile here, we do want to let you know, if you have not done so yet, you can download the Fox 13 weather app on your smartphone. You can get weather alerts sent directly to you, and on top of that, you can check conditions wherever you are. It's for free to download in the Google Play and App Store.
And one of the neat things about the app is that you can send us videos just like this. This is from a viewer, Patrick Miller, who sent this in earlier this morning, and they're playing a game of snow fetch.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I love that.
Having a great snow day. The beauty of the app, too, is that you can just push the submit button and boom, you send us your video and you might just see it here on the air.
Yeah, we've made it very easy, so you don't need to worry about searching for, an email address or something like that. And then, coming in from Paulsbo, we got the chickens. The chickens don't mind the snow. They look like they're staying warm with all those feathers there.
And the geese.
Yeah. Also, this just popped up randomly on Twitter, but the Northwest Asthma and Allergy Center, the Renton office, and the shot room are closed today due to inclement weather. So if you do allergy shots or whatnot, it sounds like that's not happening today.
And considering the weather that we're having, it might be a good idea if you have an appointment today to find out, if it is still in effect right now. Let's check in right now with Matthew Smith. He's in Everett for us. Matthew, what are you seeing there?
Well, you know, it's one of those days where I'd rather be inside of it. Being honest, it is very snow covered, and I know I've been listening into some of the coverage and hearing where everybody's located. The interstates obviously are already snow covered, so you can imagine where I am, Highway 99. You're dealing with even more snow. These are the county roads that people have to hit, and I've been talking to the county. They've been preparing for this for quite a long time. I've been up in North Sound for the past 2 days covering just this winter mix that they had. They got out early, they de-iced, they did everything you can, but at some point you're dealing with Mother Nature and you can only do so much, right? They're going to be out sanding, salting. I was told they've got over 1,900 miles they've covered just in the past 48 hours, but as you see in the road just ahead of me, that doesn't stop the conditions that we're dealing with. And me, myself, I had to drive on a back street where I'm located, where I was living today, and I couldn't even drive on like a 5-degree angle road. I have to back up and drive down the hill in order just to get to a main road, because those main roads really are all that you can get onto. I've been on the interstate, I've been on the highway today. I can tell you that when you're holding onto the wheel, you're going to want to hold on tight because you feel that crunch, that ice kind of kicking up underneath of you. And frankly, those on-ramps and off-ramps are just downright dangerous. And it's one of those things I like to always remind people when I'm out here, because I grew up in a cold weather state and I dealt with snow 24/7 growing up in Michigan. It doesn't matter if you have four-wheel drive. It doesn't matter if you have that big truck. You're still going to get stuck in this just the same, and you don't brake any easier. And that's one of the issues that we've seen just being out here on the road today. People slipping and sliding, maybe just overestimating the handle that they have on the roads here. One thing that I will note is that if you give yourself that extra time, you will be able to get where you need to go in some of these places. But frankly, if I'm one of the people listening to this, I'd rather be staying home today. I know my neighbors were out in the yard today with kitty litter and rakes and shovels, just trying to get their car out of the driveway. And again, I don't live in a super rural area. I live in an area that's pretty well traveled. It's back road, but it's just 2 streets over from Broadway, where we were checking in with Jennifer Dowling just a little bit ago. But the good news is, here on Highway 99, I'm working my way down towards Linwood this afternoon. Things are moving well enough where you can still get some traction, you can still move, and I am seeing the plows out here in Snohomish County. But keep in mind, there's only so many that they can do to prepare for this. I was looking over the numbers before I hit the road today. I think they said they have 38 plows, and they're working folks 12 on and 12 off. That's only going to cover so much of the road, so they're going to continue to hit these main roads the best that they can. And if you live on one of those side streets, I wouldn't hold my breath to expect a lot of people hitting those. In addition to WashDOT and municipalities, everybody's out here working. I'm seeing them as I drive through the communities, but it's going to be a long time until this is off the roads, especially with those temperatures that our meteorologists have been predicting. In fact, I can tell you guys, I've been talking to some cold weather shelters, because last night we were in Marysville talking with some folks who were taking in roughly 30 people, trying to make sure that they were warm and had a warm meal in their bellies to get through the night. They were telling me that they were already preparing to get more cots, more beds out, because this is the type of weather that more and more people are going to be seeking shelter and looking for some help. So that's the conditions that you're dealing with out here. And as you see, as I come to a very slow stop here, give yourself plenty of extra distance out there. I'm going to keep working my way towards Linwood. We can check back in with you guys a little bit later, but I will be talking with Snohomish County Public Works. I know those folks are hard at work, like I mentioned, with the 38 plows, working 12-hour shifts on and off. As soon as I get an update of the areas that they're covering, I'll let you know. But I also linked back on fox13seattle.com where you can actually pull up the maps if you look at that website, and you can see where they put down sand, where they put down salt, and maybe you can check to see if your road is one of the ones that's been hit, if you are looking to get out in this, and maybe you have a little bit more comfort level knowing where they've already been. But I'll send it back to you guys in the studio for now.
Matthew Smith live in Everett for us this morning.
Yeah, I'm watching all these guys drive around in their vehicles. You know, we've seen Dan do it, now Matt do it, and John and all that stuff. And I'm thinking, I have a hill up to my house, and I'm thinking, how am I getting?
We should also be clear that they have like a special dash cam. It's not like they're like.
Well, they're not holding a camera.
Well, I just want to, you know, I mean, we've had people ask us, and I just want to be clear that they are doing this safe and sound.
And speaking of those hills, we have several road closures in the Bothell beautiful area.
Yeah, 240th Street Southeast from 39th Avenue to 45th Avenue is closed. Brickyard Road Northeast from Northeast Woodinville Drive, SR 524 Maltby Road. Those roads are closed right now in the city of Bothell. The city's just saying, please stay off the roads if you can.
And so as Matthew was just saying, it's those side streets, really. It's the ones they just can't get to and treat properly. So be really careful as you're heading out, because we have hills.
Yep.
And when we have snow, we have ice.
It makes it
and
tricky.
Those do not go all that great together.
And Bill, you said it a little bit earlier. That's the reason why we have such big issues here. You know, people in the Midwest say, oh, what's the big deal?
That's why we stay on the air until noon talking about it.
Exactly, because we have these hills. All right, let's get to it. 31. This has been our camera here that I've been using most of the morning because it's been really showing the story. We had a bunch of snow move through the downtown core here about 2 hours ago. Brought us about 1 inch to 1.5 inches of accumulation in some spots. It was accumulating on the road, but thankfully the road was warm enough to where it did melt off, and now we're just looking at a little bit of slush. We're still seeing some snow here in King County and South Snohomish County. The sweet spots are south of Everett as you work your way in toward Linwood and Shoreline, continuing out to Bothell, Kenmore, and Woodinville. In fact, in that Bothell, Kenmore, Woodinville area is where we're seeing some of the heaviest snow at this hour. And let's head a little farther south. We're now finally, I have some friends in Renton who are all jealous. They are finally getting some snow, but it's those big old fat flakes. And by the way, if you're wondering why sometimes you see, you know, small snowflakes, and then sometimes you see the kind of the quarter size or the silver dollar size snowflakes, it's because when we have warmer temperatures, let's say even a little bit above freezing, around 34 degrees or so, those snowflakes will actually stick together and just appear to be bigger. So that's why you get some of those big snowflakes when we have warmer temperatures. Bellevue right now, Redmond, Kirkland, and Issaquah, all the way up to North Bend and Snoqualmie. Yes, more snow there. And if you don't like snow, well, head down to the South Sound, because Tacoma to Olympia, it's just plain old rain right now with much warmer temperatures. So in areas where snow has fallen, we're going to have icy slush and compact snow throughout the rest of the day today. I don't see temperatures warming up all that much, but the solar radiation that's hitting the pavement right now is going to help break some of that up. The problem is that later on tonight, that will all ice over. Temps are going to plummet fast tonight. We're going to have a hard freeze overnight with temps in the low to mid-20s for overnight lows. With that, that snow and ice is going to stick around, not just tonight, but for the next 2 days as well. Temps are only going to warm up to the upper 20s here tomorrow and mid-20s on Wednesday. Or Thursday, I guess. I'm forgetting what day it is now at this point. But for the next 2 days, we're going to see high temps below freezing. 27 in Everett. It's still frigid up in Bellingham with those Fraser Valley outflow winds still kicking in up there, making it feel like it's 0 degrees up in western Whatcom County. All right, we get through today. Then we get into tomorrow. And overnight, temps down into the mid-20s. Some of the outlying areas will be in the low 20s, and then 29 for a high. Pretty cold, but not as cold as Thursday's going to be, because we're starting off the day in the teens. We're going to end the day in the mid-20s. That'll be our chilliest day coming up over the next 7. I am concerned about our next weather event, or potential weather event, which will be Thursday night into Friday morning. We could see a little bit of snow. We could see some freezing rain. It will likely be an icy go on Friday morning. We'll be keeping track of that as we get a little bit closer. As we head into your weekend, we're back to on and off showers, which may be heavy at times. I expect about a ½ inch of rain on Saturday, and then again on Monday, maybe a little bit less than that on Sunday, which is Christmas Day. But look at these temperatures. We're back into the 50s, and we haven't been in the 50s all month. So a warm-up heading our way for Christmas weekend. All right, that's your weather. Let's send it on over to Adam. He's got to check on the roads, which have been a mess, Adam.
What a bear. And this is where weather and traffic collide, because there's a story of what's been happening today, and it goes along with what Brian was saying yesterday, and we'll just kind of let me give you the background on this. He said there's going to be a rain-snow line, and that's really what's going to determine who gets snow, who gets rain, right? And it was going to be somewhere between Seattle and the Everett side of things, right? Well, early this morning, we saw that snow-rain line right at 5:20. Lo and behold, snow everything above that. Then that line moved up to about the Alderwood-Linwood area. Then it moved down to 5:20. Now it's down to about South Center. So when we start looking around the Puget Sound as to who's seen snow, who's seen the ice, it's central Puget Sound right now that's all getting that. And hey, miraculously, all the roads in these areas still moving slow as drivers still move through these regions. And that's a very unusual thing to be seeing at 11:20, that we'd be seeing this much volume, this much slowing on 405, I-5 in central Puget Sound. 522 also continuing heavy. So folks are venturing out, but they're definitely finding things quite crowded and moving slow, which is the appropriate thing to be doing for the conditions that we're in. The majority of that snow that we saw, though, hit us in Snohomish County, hit us in Skagit County, hit us in Whatcom County, getting up towards the U.S.-Canadian border. And then even so much so that the Vancouver airport is still closed at this point. Multiple spin-out collisions along I-5, along 522, along State Route 9, along US 2. DOT and the State Patrol have been active all morning long trying to get these things either pushed clear or clear of the roadway. But again, the advice is, if you are in a collision, in a snowy situation, stay inside your vehicle, because you're at least surrounded by steel at that point. And if somebody was to come and hit your car because maybe you were in a slide, you at least have some buffer or some bubble of protection. Just something to keep in mind. Port Angeles has seen up to a foot of snow this morning. That's made 101 incredibly treacherous and hard to drive through. Difficulties continuing Cedro-Woolley, Bellingham, getting up to the U.S.-Canadian border. The stress continues. Mountain passes. Let's also reflect on this for a moment. Visibility becoming a question mark. Stevens Pass, with chains required for all except all-wheel drive. I-90 eastbound, the pass is closed. Chains required for all except all-wheel drive, but that pass is closed as the conditions are just, again, too difficult for us right now. Blewett Pass, chains required for all except all-wheel drive. And White Pass, traction tires required, chains on the big rigs. Mountain Pass travel. I think today we're going to write it off unless we're going skiing. Bill and Liz, back over to you.
To go skiing when the pass is closed, though. That is an issue.
All right, so continuing our team coverage, we are taking you back out to Whatcom County this morning.
All right, so John, you're back out of the car and reporting. Where did we find you?
We are in Bellingham, Bill, right near the I-5 exit, kind of the exit you would take if you want to go to Western Washington University. And speaking of skiing, I've been looking at the snow, did the unofficial hand test. I don't have a yardstick here, but it's about 8 inches right here, and it's pretty powdery. This would be good snow if you did hit the mountains and jumped on the skis or the snowboard, but unfortunately you can't do that with the pass closed right now. As we're looking around here, though, it's interesting. A lot of times we talk about how the main roads are all right, but those back roads are lousy. Here in Bellingham right now, to be honest, the back roads are lousy, and so are the main roads. They are all snow covered at this point, and it's kind of that tamped down, greasy slush out here. So if you stop and then you try to go again, a lot of times you're going to be spinning your tires. If you don't have the right vehicle out here, we've seen a lot of people get stuck and spin out. In fact, when we left early this morning, driving north on I-5, we almost immediately saw someone who had spun out, and from there on we saw a lot of people having issues trying to drive in this stuff. Fortunately, didn't see any major crashes, but a lot of people getting stuck, a lot of people needing a little push to get going again. But that's been the situation up here in Whatcom County all morning long, and it's actually improved in the last couple of hours. The snow has stopped, and the temperatures are actually kind of going up at this point. I just checked the dashboard, about 19 degrees out here. So we were dealing with 13, 11 degrees in Linden earlier this morning. So it's warming up just a little bit. And in fact, I think if we take a look, oh, it's gone away, Dante. We were looking at the blue sky just a couple of minutes ago through the clouds here, but it's kind of got covered up again. But we've seen the sun off and on up here. Oh, there it is. There's a little sliver of blue right there. We've seen this off and on as the mornings progressed here. We've gone from, you know, pounding snow with wind just whipping it all around. The visibility was terrible, and the wind chill dropped it below zero, probably around 13, 15 degrees below zero. So we have seen improvements here in Whatcom County, but it's going to be a lot of cleanup here because, as I mentioned, we got about 8 inches here, but I'm hearing reports of a foot or more in other parts around Bellingham and into Linden. Guys, we'll send it back to you.
John, appreciate you there. And thanks for pointing out the blue sky. It's nice to know that maybe there's some calm after the storm that you saw up in Whatcom County there. Also want to send it over to Jennifer Dowling, who's live for us in Everett this morning. And how are things looking where you are right now?
Well, the snowfall has stopped for the moment, so the skies are fairly clear, but things are still slushy and the roads are still a little bit tricky. We're in front of the Gourmet Latte Espresso Bar, and people have been flocking here to go through the drive-thru to get some nice warm-ups like hot cappuccino, hot coffee, hot tea. It's just a great little stop on a day like today. And we're catching up with the man who's plowing out the lot and helping this business out. This is Keith Wells. He's an attorney and semi-professional plow driver. Well, tell me, Keith, what you're seeing on the roads.
Well, it was pretty hairy getting here. I think it was 164th, I-5. There's semi going the other way. So it backed up a bit, but got around it and made it here.
Okay, good. Glad you're safe and able to plow out the gourmet latte, because we know people in the Seattle area need their coffee. So you're doing a public service.
That's right. Got to keep them safe.
Exactly. Well, tell me how you're keeping warm, because we were kind of talking about this illustrious hat. We have like this trapper-esque faux fur hat going on.
Well, I keep this in the plow. This is the plow hat, and so it the heater's not so good in the beast. So the hat does the job.
Okay, and you got a serious rig here, massive plow on the front. It's taking care of business. I saw you kind of like plow out the drive-through there, and now you're probably kind of going on around in the parking spaces. But does it do the job?
It's a lot of fun. So yeah, no, it does the job, moves the snow, and gives me a reason to drive it around.
Okay. And he has paying customers, but tell me, you also kind of donate your time too, right?
That's right. If you're 85 or older, you get a free plow.
Isn't that sweet? He's melting hearts on this icy cold day. I love that.
Nailed it.
Yeah, thank you. Are you gonna get a latte or a hot tea to go?
They keep me loaded up for sure. Yeah.
Okay,
So.
I think we need one as well.
Okay.
Well, thank you. I'll let you get back to this cold and wintry job that you've got going on the side after being an attorney. Well, let me ask you before we go, because you're just really fun. What's tougher, being an attorney or snowplow driver?
The attorney work for sure, but this is a lot more fun. So. Okay.
This is your hobby.
Yes.
All right, a great hobby to have on a day like today, and what a great rig there. I think a lot of people wish that they had that kind of plow and those kind of tires today. And like Keith said, very slippery. He saw a semi spinning out, nearly wrecking there when he was coming in to do his plowing. And he's got a great vehicle for all this weather. So just be very careful because you don't want to go out unless your vehicle is equipped and you know that your route is clear, because some of those side roads are pretty tricky right now with all that ice and snow. So stay safe. Get your latte, get your hot cocoa, or whatever your preference may be, and enjoy the weather from the comfort of a warm couch. That would be my suggestion. Back to you in the studio.
All right, Jennifer, appreciate you there. You're talking about the rig. I'm talking about the hat. I want that fuzzy
fantastic.
hat. I mean, that was fashion.
Well, yeah, and the freelance snowplow, you talk about a growth industry there. A day like today.
For sure. You'll be busy out there with that. Okay, so continuing our team coverage in Snohomish County is Dan Griffin this morning.
Hi, Dan. Where you at?
Hey, good morning to you. We just got onto 405 from I-5. We're headed toward Bothell. Actually, I think we're about to enter Bothell right now. And by the way, I know Jennifer was talking about getting a hot drink. I had to grab one this morning just because, it is so chilly. But I'm going to flip this camera around. Take a look at this. This is what we're seeing here right now. So there is definitely some slush. This is 405. And you can see that slush is definitely piled up on the sides. You can also see a little bit of it here right on the road itself. I haven't seen too many in way of road crews just yet through here, but I'll tell you, drivers definitely going a bit slower than they typically would. We're doing about 42 miles an hour right now, and you see somebody pulled off to the side here on the right-hand side. So clearly, these are the kind of conditions where you want to take it a bit slower, make sure you're paying attention to whoever's in front of you, whoever's behind you, and what's going on around you, because you just don't know what you might run into. It looks like they were maybe taking off some chains there, but these are the conditions that we're seeing on the 405. It looks pretty close to what we saw on I-5 as well. There's just this element of slush mixed in with a little bit of wet roads, and people obviously just wanted to be kind of careful. I saw another Ford Explorer, I think, that had spun out into the medium when we were on I-5, so I believe it's like Matt said, Matt Smith, it doesn't matter if you have four-wheel drive, big truck, small car. If you hit those slippery conditions, you can definitely spin out and find yourself either in a median, a guardrail, or another situation you really don't want to get into. But we are making our way toward Bothell as we speak, trying to really get a better glimpse of what it is that's happening in this region as well. And I'll tell you, too, the other interesting thing is just all the different drivers, all the different cars kind of merging in, and just kind of giving each other a little bit of space, trying to make sure that everybody is kind of respecting one another as we work through this day here. But yeah, we're continuing to drive, check out these conditions. I'm going to get back with you here in just a little bit and hopefully give you guys a better glimpse of another spot here within Bothell, and we can get a better idea of how things are looking there, Bill and Liz.
All right, Dan Griffin reporting live on the roads in Snohomish County. Right now, let's check in with James Poling with the Washington State Department of Transportation. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Bill and Liz. How are you all?
Doing well. You have a lot of road to cover here. Your region is King County all the way up to the Canadian border, and we've seen some really challenging conditions out there, particularly up north this morning.
Challenging and varying. Right now on the south end of King County, we're just starting to see some winter precipitation come in, so starting to see some effects there. But overnight in Bellingham, Whatcom County areas, we were hit really hard. Blizzard-like conditions near Linden. I think the shot you had a few minutes ago from Whatcom County really showed how much snow fell there, and we were dealing with much higher winds up there. Thankfully, our crews are getting a bit of a reprieve in Mount Vernon, Bellingham areas in terms of precipitation. However, we're still dealing with snowbanks and wind drifting snow and accumulation back onto roadways. So that will continue to remain a challenge in those areas, even though precipitation has stopped. We're still seeing some accumulation here in the Snohomish, King County, Seattle metro areas as well. We're seeing major issues on 405, I-5, and the Everett, Linwood areas. We ask the traveling public the conditions are changing rapidly. They vary across the region. Use caution when traveling. Travel only if necessary. We're also going to have potentially plummeting temperatures over the next 48 hours as well, so there may be refreeze potentials over the next couple days. We just ask the public to have patience, be smart, and slow down, and make sure you arrive to your destination safely, because that's ultimately our goal for our entire transportation network.
Yeah, absolutely. And James, it really does seem like that refreeze is such a big concern. I mean, it's one thing to see snow on the roadways, but it can be really hard to see the ice on the roadways and really overshoot it if you're driving down, say, I-5.
Absolutely. And another challenge we're dealing with right now, this is one of the shortest days of the year, so we're very limited on daylight for the 24-hour period. So especially at night when temperatures are the coldest, it is difficult to see ice. Our crews are also doing a fantastic job in working around the clock and hitting as much road as they can. But we can't get to every part of the network, and sometimes it refreezes after we've already just been in that location, or after another area has been treated, or we had a snowdrift blow across the road and refreeze. That's going to be a challenge throughout the next couple of days, and so we just asked motorists, and we know holiday travel is going to start ramping up here soon. We just asked motorists to use patience, slow down. We want to make sure everyone arrives safely to their destination. And please, please give our crews working in the field, our plow drivers, plenty of room. We had a plow driver hit this morning in Snohomish County. Thankfully, it appears there were no injuries, but that's one less truck we have on the road right now, and we need that truck on the road. So we please ask to give our plow drivers plenty of space. If you feel like you cannot stop in a slippery situation, you need to give back up and give our drivers more time to allow the product to be placed on the road, and for their safety to have room in case there is a situation where there's slip and slide occurs.
So you mentioned the lack of sunlight today. We are likely to see somewhat of a thaw at some point today, and then you talked about the refreeze as well. And this becomes a huge issue, particularly on elevated roadways like what we're seeing right here over Lake City in Seattle. These can become really dangerous once we get a thaw and then a refreeze. So how will your crews be going out and treating those through the rest of the day into tomorrow?
That's a great point about bridges freezing first, because they're not obviously on the ground, and they're the first that will refreeze. Obviously, our crews will continue to treat, especially the problematic areas. That's one thing that's consistent is we know our problematic areas. For example, Tiger Mountain, State Route 18. Elevated slope structures. We have our areas where we know this is more likely to freeze than other locations. It still doesn't mean that, okay, we've treated it, motorists can go full speed limit. They need to slow down, proceed with caution, because you never know where black ice is. You might be able to see some ice, but black ice is just that. You can't see it. and especially at nighttime, especially in poorly lit areas, it is something that's not worth risking going a little bit faster and arriving a few minutes earlier than potentially injuring yourself in a crash and damages and all assortment, and plus hurting somebody else as well. It's just not worth. It's not worth going normal speeds in these type of conditions.
Yeah, James, you have such a good point. I'm a little nervous for that morning commute tomorrow morning when everything is frozen over. We appreciate you being with us. James Pauling with the with WashDOT this morning, keeping us up to date on what crews are doing to keep us safe on the roads. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Stay warm.
It's really interesting as we scroll through these DOT cameras. You see that juxtaposition. We just saw Tacoma a few minutes ago, and it was just, you know, hydroplaning and huge amounts of water on the road, and then you go up north and you're dealing with conditions like this.
Yeah, so it's been very different, and we've been hearing from folks in the South Sound going, snow coverage, we're not seeing anything, but it's Seattle, north of Seattle is where a lot of folks have had the brunt of it here. Speaking of the, what's happening in Redmond this morning, we've had a lot of issues there. Wanted to let you know 148th Avenue northbound of Redmond Way, that area had been closed for stalled vehicles. We now know that the north and southbound lanes of Redmond Way are now back open this morning, and we're also hearing that even though they're canceling a lot of things around town, the Kraken game is still happening as well.
Game on for the Kraken. We have the Blues in town tonight. Kraken coming off a 3-2 win over the Jets on Sunday. Great hockey game there. So the Kraken game is on tonight at Climate Pledge Arena, 7 o'clock puck drop there. The snow is here in Seattle, though, and meteorologist Aaron Mayowski is on the weather deck tracking the conditions here. Is it still falling out there?
Yeah, it's snowing just a little bit, guys. The small, finer snowflakes coming down. But, you know, it's about 30 degrees. The feels-like temperature that I got off of our Fox 13 weather app says 20 degrees. Winds out of the north. But as we've been out here, I just arrived out here, drove in, checked out Inner Bay, Ballard, Magnolia, and the streets are very slushy. And you talked about the ponding on the roadway. There is a ton of water on 15th Avenue between Inner Bay and Magnolia and 15th. It's a slow go of it because the water. Otherwise, it's just really wet. You can see out of our studios here of Fox 13 off the weather deck, we're looking at Westlake Avenue, and conditions are not bad at all. People are picking up speeds, but like we've been talking about, this is going to get very slick and very dicey into the overnight hours. Activity out here is pretty quiet. Not many folks walking around, just a few cars and buses rolling through, and our crews trying to pick up what they can to see out here. And as you know, it came down so fast just a couple of hours ago in the huge flakes. Now we're just seeing that light flake coming down, and it is feeling pretty cold, but there's only maybe just about, if we look here, just about a little less than an inch, but it came down so fast and quick. And look, really what's underneath that is where it's going to build up and start to freeze. And we've been talking about that throughout the overnight hours. During the evening commute, Lisa Villegas and I will be here between 4 and 7 p.m. to bring you the latest, and we'll watch the roads as Adam's been doing this morning. It's just a mess, obviously, up to the north. But here in the Seattle area, if folks are going to the Kraken game, I worry about those roads getting really cold, icing up, black ice, and for sure getting just compact snow wherever it's been falling. So it's going to be one of those things. Not only do drivers have to be careful, but walking on those streets, it's going to be pretty treacherous at times. Let's send it back now into the studio where Brian has been nice and toasty and warm inside there. I'll tell you, it is cold out here. I've only done one weather hit out here. Abby was out there. I'm going to throw that at you. Abby covered it, and she looked really warm.
I've been working very hard in here. Thank you very much, Aaron. No, great job. You have a nice warm jacket. I saw that. That's a fluffy jacket. In fact, I hope you're staying warm, Aaron. Thank you so much. I never get to work with Aaron. That's fun. Let's get to our Arlington Airport right now. This is what it looks like out there. How picturesque is that? You can see the snow and the trees off in the distance as well. They finally stopped up there in Arlington after snowing for much of the evening. Right now in Seattle, other than a few light little flurries, as Aaron was talking about, this is our Lake Union camera. By the way, there's Aaron right there. She's going inside now. She just rushed inside. 31 degrees your temperature right now. And here's a look at your radar. Okay, here's what we're seeing. The front is moving its way south and east. Okay, so what's happening here is that, just as expected, Bellingham, Arlington, most of Snohomish County is now dry. The precip is moving its way south. So Seattle, you'll be dry next, then Tacoma, then Olympia, and it all moves on up into the Cascades. But in the meantime, we are still seeing some snow showers up to the north in Seattle and just north of Seattle up towards Northgate. Renton area getting in on the party as well. SeaTac, and then look at the temperature difference between Seattle and Tacoma, about 10 degrees. That cold air and that warm air fighting it out, the line of scrimmage, the rain and snow line, whatever you want to call it, is right here at about SeaTac. You go south of that, you get into much warmer air, so Olympia, Lacey, even Shelton are above freezing. Shelton barely above freezing here at this hour. And let's talk about exactly where it's snowing right now here in the Bothell, Kenmore, Woodinville areas, still heavy snow out towards Kirkland and Redmond. We'll head a little farther south towards Renton, Fairwood, Midway, Federal Way, Kent, all those areas. Issaquah, and continuing on up into North Bend and Snoqualmie, we're still seeing some snowfall. And then you get to the rain, and it's pretty heavy rain down here in the south end towards Chehalis, Centralia, and Olympia. Shelton also seeing some rain as well. All right, current temperatures are very, very chilly. We have this very cold air mass east of the Cascades. Look at that, single digits still. It's 1140, and we're still in the single digits in Omak and Wenatchee. Snoqualmie Pass, I believe, shut down still in both directions. Adam's going to talk more about that. 27 in Everett, and you go up to Bellingham, we're at 17 degrees. Look at the difference between Olympia and Bellingham right now. As we move through the rest of the afternoon, the concern does transition to what's left on the roadways and what is going to melt off. Anything that doesn't melt is sticking around for a while, because after today, folks, once we dip below freezing, we're not going to rise above freezing until Friday. The next couple of days look very, very chilly as that cold air mass hangs out. Not only that, we could see some convergence zone showers in areas along the strait and up here in Snohomish County between Seattle and Arlington, where in this area at around midnight or so, we could see a little bit more accumulation. So we're maybe not totally done yet. But snow and rain should wrap up this afternoon, at least the widespread version of this here. And then we'll just be left with a few isolated flurries. Seattle area and north is the best chance for more snow coming up here over the next hour, although we are seeing a little bit down there on the east side out towards Redmond, or excuse me, towards Issaquah, and then down to the south towards Renton. That'll all wrap up here soon, probably within the next hour. Cold temps are expected, though, for the next 2 days at least, and then we're going to watch those snow levels rise dramatically as we get into Friday. But Friday is our transition day where we get into warmer weather. The problem I see here is during that transition, Thursday night and into Friday, we could see some freezing rain, and that could make Friday morning's commute really, really treacherous. So you're going to want to stay tuned to the forecast as we get toward late week. All right. Here's your 7-day forecast. Yes, the next 2 days, extremely cold. We're talking 20s for highs. Overnight lows tonight will be in the low 20s to around mid-20s close to the city. So you go a little farther north, you're getting into the low 20s, maybe even teens in some spots north of Everett. Then Wednesday night, everybody down into the teens. Going to be a very chilly night for us. Thursday's highs only making it into the mid-20s. We get into Friday, that's our day to watch for here, especially in the morning hours. And then things warm up dramatically heading into your Christmas weekend. Christmas Eve, we're back to rain. I expect about a ½ inch of rain that day. That'll be a real wet one, but we're into the upper 40s. And then Sunday and Monday will be in the low 50s. So we go from 25 to 52 over the course of about 5 days. That'll feel like shorts and T-shirt weather, Adam, as we get into next weekend. But we got to get through the next few days here first.
I forgot that Hawaiian shirt and Bermuda shorts already picked out.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
A little Tommy Bahama
We're full Tommy Bahama by Saturday. That's what we're doing.
Hey, your cameras are back. Your cameras are back.
Look at this. Yeah,
Wonderful.
exactly. Yeah, we were having issues earlier where I think the DOT servers were just getting hammered by everybody wanting to take a look at these shots that we have. And now watch this. This is northbound I-5, Everett, 164th. And the delay is continuing for drivers trying to get into the area. This semi that's involved in this was apparently kind of spun in the wrong direction. Now in the process of getting straightened out and taken away. But northbound I-5 is still incredibly tense for drivers trying to get up through the Everett side of things. So you're seeing that slowing from almost the county line all the way up to 164th. Noting that you're seeing a lot of volume on 405 and 522 and 405, even through the Renton curves, Kennydale and Newcastle and into Seattle. A lot of the pressure here still just sticking with us, lingering on. as that snowfall continues, that is still going to be a thing. Now, a lot of that snowfall has actually slowed. We're actually seeing things just kind of mellowing out, but now dealing with slush and maybe even just a little bit of sleet in places as well. But traction becoming the issue or the question mark. And as things refreeze this evening and this afternoon, that'll be concerning for us as well. Noting we saw a lot of that snowfall happening through Snohomish County, moving to Skagit County, moving to Whatcom County. Those were some of the larger accumulations that we saw, plus what happened on the peninsula. Port Angeles earlier this morning measuring almost a foot of snow. So 101, you can imagine, not great. Not great at all. Port Townsend also continuing to be moving relatively heavy for us yet. And we're keeping an eye on what's been happening still along the I-5 corridor between Conway and Cedro-Woolley and Bellingham, reaching up towards the U.S.-Canadian border. And our coverage doesn't stop here in America. No, it continues to Canada. And why? Because the Vancouver, BC airport is out of commission due to snowfall at this point. They're just not able to get flights out. So thinking international travel, some flights leave from SeaTac, go to Vancouver, and then hop off from there. Not happening right now. So if you're perhaps watching us in Canada right now, the authorities have said, please don't try and even show up at the airport. It's just too treacherous. Mountain passes like this. Stevens Pass. Chains required for all except all-wheel drive. Visibility, question mark. That's what it looks like. Snoqualmie Pass. The pass is now closed in both directions, eastbound and westbound. Chains were required for all except all-wheel drive regardless. And then too many folks having too much fun, and they spun out too many times, and now we've got the pass shut down resulting that. So I would have a feeling this is just the weather expert and the traffic expert in me speaking on this one, shooting from the hip, that we're going to see chains required for all regardless coming up here with Snoqualmie Pass pretty quickly because of the fact there's just been too many spin-out collisions, too much confidence with folks in their all-wheel drive thinking they can just take on the mountain. But that has been an issue for us at Snoqualmie Pass. Blewett Pass right now, chains required for all except all-wheel drive, and White Pass, traction tires required, chains on the big rigs. Winter driving, it's here. This is a thing. Bill and Liz, back over to you.
All right, Adam, appreciate it. We've had so much to talk about here, and continuing our team coverage in Whatcom County is John Hopperstad.
And John, you were out on the roads once again. John, do we have you? Your shot
frozen.
Broken up. It's not because he's so cold. He was just switching the camera over to the road view. John, how's it going?
You guys got me now?
Yes.
Coming in?
Yes.
We hear you now.
Am I coming in clear?
Oh.
Yeah, we wanted to get on...
Ooh, I think we're going to have some issues with John's audio as he makes his way south from Whatcom County. But boy, we have just seen that area getting socked this morning up in Whatcom County. So John Hopperstad making his way down. Looks like kind of a rain-snow mix as he makes his way south. But let's check in now with Matthew Smith. We find him now in Linwood. You've been driving around the roads all morning long. What are you finding there?
Well, I tell you what, pulled off here in Linwood, just off of Highway 99. That's where I was the last time I was chatting with you from behind the wheel. Now that we're stopped here, you get a good idea what the side streets are. Because Highway 99, I was moving along. It was okay. But you just take a look over here at the road, and this is the stuff that you worry about. It's starting to get real packed down. You can see the tire tracks here leaving that fresh snow, but that's actually frozen in there. And this is about a half of an inch of just packed down stuff. And I tell you what, we actually parked in a parking lot just across the way, and just walking was dangerous, treacherous. You almost wanted to have some crampons if you're one of those outdoor hikers in the winter, just to maneuver into the grocery store. This is the problem, though, is that as we stand here on the side street, we're seeing people rev their engines, really gun it, trying to get up these hills, and they start to fishtail. And that's going to be a big problem moving forward, I think, throughout the entire day. Is just like we talked about the passes, how people have the four-wheel drive. They think they can get out there and they can conquer the mountain. A lot of people think that they can conquer these streets, and it isn't so easy. Once you get moving, you'll keep moving, but slowing down and actually getting going is going to be the hard part. And we've already seen a lot of near misses. And I will say, there's some danger out here on the roads, even just driving in here. I saw people flashing their lights at one another and trying to pass. And the problem is people get a little bit, we'll say, feisty out there on the roads when they don't see the lines and nobody knows where they're going. They're trying to pass one another. Slow down. Give people that extra space. I know you guys were talking just a little bit ago about how a snowplow actually got hit overnight in Snohomish County. Imagine if that's one of these cars. It's basically bumper cars out here if you get too close, and you really want to make sure you continue to give people that speed. But I really do think that this gives us a good look. If you think back 15 minutes ago how we were on the main road and you could drive and it was pretty easy to stop and start, this is the type of stuff that frankly I don't really want to be on. And in case you're wondering just the snow totals down here, this is what we're looking at. We've got quite a bit of fresh snow here in Linwood, and again, this is the type of stuff that may be fun to play in but not so fun to drive in because it packs down real hard and it becomes that ice. And with the temperatures that we're dealing with, this is the type of thing we're not going to get out of for quite a while. I know we've talked about a rain-snow mix in some areas, but here in the North Sound, all I've seen is solid snow, and this is the type of stuff that I think we're going to have trouble with moving forward. I wouldn't be surprised if we're even talking about power outages at some point in time, because I am seeing a lot of sitting snow on tree branches, and that's when you start getting this weight up, and that's when you start worrying about trees falling down, limbs falling down, knocking out lines. We'll have to keep an eye on that part of the story as well, because with these frigid temps, then you start wondering how people are going to be staying warm throughout the night. So we're going to keep moving. We're actually going to be hooking up with Snohomish County PUD a little bit later today, talking to them a little bit about what they've been dealing with and what they're actually doing out on the roads. That's going to be coming up a little bit later today, but I'm going to send it back to you guys in the studio for now.
And Matthew brings up a really good point as well. When we talk about a thaw and a possible refreeze, you are talking about a lot of weight on power lines. So that's something we're going to be watching very closely tonight into tomorrow.
And we have already seen a few power losses through PSC and Snohomish PUD, so we'll be on top of that as well. Also this morning, it looks like we got you back, John Hopperstad, who is now on the roads. Where are you at right now?
Yeah, we're on I-5 southbound, and we really wanted to give you an idea of what the highway looked like now after the storm has passed, because I'm literally being blinded by sunlight coming into me. This is very unusual today, but it is nice and bright out here, and I'm going to give you a look because WashDOT's saying they've really been working, oops, sorry about that, they've really been working on this section of I-5 in both directions between Bellingham and Mount Vernon. We had a lot of issues early this morning, a lot of spin-outs out here. Bad conditions. We couldn't see the pavement. Well, you can see now we're seeing the pavement. The plows have been working this for hours and hours, and it really has paid off at this point because we're driving on regular pavement here. We do have snow obviously on either side of us, and snow drifts and wind continues to be a bit of an issue in the Linden area right now, but down here it's calmed down, and it's pretty smooth sailing on I-5 right now. However, having said that, the roads, the other roads around Whatcom County, your side roads, your other areas you're traveling on, they still have compact snow and ice on them and some really slippery slush in some places. Even the main roads around the city of Bellingham, I noticed that there's still snow covered. Once you get to I-5, though, as you can see, it's pretty smooth sailing here, and that is good news after what we went through overnight and then into the morning with the snow coming down here and the wind whipping it around and then the extremely cold temperatures. It's nice to see the sun, to see the temps starting to rise here. We're at 26 degrees outside here right near the Mount Vernon area, so hopefully temps go up and kids can actually get out and play in this stuff, which they really couldn't do earlier this morning when it was just so cold, windy, and snowy throughout Whatcom County, guys.
John, thank you. Let's check in with Jennifer Dowling. She joins us now live in Everett, and you found the espresso stand.
I love that.
Oh, we did. We are at the Gourmet Latte Espresso Bar, and the snow has started falling again. It's a beautiful winter scene, but people have been coming here fast and furious to get their hot drinks. You need it on a cold day. This is Jessica Mitchell. She is the barista extraordinaire. Jessica, we've seen so many customers here. Tell us what they're drinking this morning.
Most people are getting a candy cane mocha. It is very popular today. It's white chocolate and peppermint syrup with some espresso and steamed milk on top.
Okay, and what have customers been saying? Has it been kind of tough on the roads? Has it been cold, icy?
They're definitely saying the roads are pretty bad out there and to drive slow. They also say that you need to be careful, obviously, and that they're loving the snow since it doesn't happen very often. Yeah.
It's so beautiful, and it's a great excuse to get a sweet coffee drink. So tell me what the best part about this is.
The best part about the candy cane mocha is the whipped cream for sure, and then we take our peppermint little toppings and you top it on top. And you can't tell me that does not look amazing. It is so good. Come by and grab one.
Yes, you got to come out here. This is the espresso bar on Broadway in Everett. Again, gourmet latte espresso bars. Jessica will help you warm you up on this icy cold day and also get your taste buds going too. And if you got a sweet tooth, satisfy that as well. You know, perfect excuse to get out there and get that latte. But again, the snow has started falling in Everett once again. Those roads are still icy, so if you can stay home, do it. But if you have to get on the road, you know, we've got the beverages to set you up for at least a pleasant drive. Back to you in the studio.
That peppermint latte sounds fantastic.
It does sound really good.
You know,
I'm here for that.
You know what does not sound fantastic? Going to SeaTac Airport or heading to the airport at all right now, we've seen a huge amount of delays and cancellations.
Yeah.
123 flights canceled just in the last 24 hours out of SeaTac. And this is going to be an issue we're going to be dealing with for a couple of days out of SeaTac. And I know people have holiday plans. They have
kind of the worst
flights
time to have this
scheduled.
happen. Yeah.
Man, I tell you what, because, you know, the de-icer trucks can only move so quickly, and you can only get flights out and in such amount of time. So it's going to be challenging for the next few days at SeaTac Airport.
It absolutely is. And we also want to thank you for helping us tell this weather story today, sending in your viewer videos and pictures. We have a couple to show you here from Catherine. Catherine, the snow in Bothell. Look at that. I mean, it is just covering. It just dumped down there. I love when it's all, you know, it hasn't been touched.
Yes.
You know?
Pure.
There's some dog somewhere just waiting to run through it.
You know, and when you head out to the peninsula as well, man, we saw a lot of snow over the last 12 hours or so, particularly, you know, Kitsap County, Island County, up in Whatcom County.
Yeah, this is
just
Bremerton.
tons of snow. Yeah, so we had a viewer send us this video as well. So let's check in now with Brian McMillan, what to expect through the remainder of today and into tomorrow, because the refreeze is going to be a story as well.
You're exactly right. And that's the thing I want to emphasize here. As this widespread event ends, it's going to transition over to a freezing event here, because we're not going to get above freezing after the sun sets here tonight. We're not going to get above freezing for the next couple of days. So anything that's left on the ground will likely freeze over and won't go anywhere here for the next couple of days. Here's what we're looking at on the radar right now. Just a few light snow showers still kind of lingering up there in South Snohomish County near Alderwood and Linwood and south end of Everett. And then as you work your way into Seattle, we're also seeing some snow showers out towards Renton and Bellevue and Issaquah. Down to the south toward Tacoma and Olympia, it's all just rain right now. So here's what I want to hammer home, folks. We will get a little bit of thawing during the daylight hours. That solar radiation kind of helping break up things on the roads. But once that sun goes down, we get into a hard freeze overnight. Those temperatures dropping down to the low 20s for a lot of us, mid 20s closer to the city. So we'll have compact snow in areas where we don't get to break through that. And that means up on the north end, Skagit and Whatcom counties, we'll have ice in certain areas here of Snohomish and King counties especially. And it's going to stick around here for the next couple of days. So it might make driving really treacherous here, especially in those early hours when you're going for work in the early morning hours on those hills. I'd be really, really careful, especially as the sun goes down tonight. So Wednesday and Thursday, look at those daytime high temperatures in the mid to upper 20s. Overnight lows in the mid 20s there tonight. Teens Wednesday night. And then, you guys, we're going to be keeping an eye on Friday morning, where we have a chance of an icy mix there before things finally warm up for the weekend. That, my friends, is your last check on weather. Aaron and Lisa will be with you here later on this evening. I want to send it on over to Adam with a last check on traffic.
How about it? Let's have a look at what's happening here for drivers still trying to move their way in through South Everett. Visibility. Yeah. Look at that. It just kind of looks gnarly right along I-5 and 164th. There was an earlier semi that got spun around the wrong way. That was no fun. Continues to be problematic for us. And, you know, the slick conditions just continue as drivers make their way up and down the I-5 corridor. So that is certainly going to be one of those things we have to watch out for. Snoqualmie Pass, the summit is still closed in both directions because of too many spin-out collisions. Chains required for all except all-wheel drive at I-90 Snoqualmie Pass, US 2 Stevens Pass, and also Blewett Pass at this point. White Pass has traction tires required chains on the big rigs. Let's also just kind of highlight where we saw the majority of our action earlier today. That was Snohomish County, Skagit County, Whatcom County. And for drivers trying to get over towards the peninsula, it still seems to be kind of a gnarly go for drivers on 101. And now King County gets this snowfall. I want to say also I am sorely disappointed, you guys. We did not get a heaping ton of barbecue covered
I had a couple.
You did?
I did get a couple of barbecue
I mean, we
shots.
just showed a trampoline.
But I wanted barbecue. I demanded barbecue. We did not get barbecue.
You still have time to send your barbecue snow shots.
Murphy's, we make great pizza, so you can make the pizza great. Order now at papamurphys.com.